Chapter 1360. The sword in Kitsune's hand was already tainted by the blood light, and she decided not to use it. Facing the incoming heavenly essence spear, she took a step forward and extended her palm. As a Khanate spirit weapon, the heavenly essence spear was way too fast. It was merely a streak of silver light that streaked by and arrived instantly. However, Bai Mingshue's palm directly captured the silver light. The silver light dissipated, and the heavenly essence spear fell into Kitsune's palm. Revealing its true form, it twitched continuously, trying to break free. Kitsune harumphed coldly, and her blood qi surged as she exerted strength in her palm. Instantly, the spirit light on the spear was overshadowed by Kitsune's blood qi and dimmed. Dongfangji had already lost control of the heavenly essence spear completely. Swash! The moment the heavenly essence spear arrived, a black shadow shrouded over, as though it was about to split the void into two. It was the Khanate spirit weapon, Space Dispersing Ruler. Kitsune's expression was unchanged as she raised her right hand and spread her fingers, grabbing the descending Space Dispersing Ruler. The expressions of the crowd changed starkly as they exclaimed. Grabbing the incoming heavenly essence spear with one's bare hands and grabbing the descending Space Dispersing Ruler were two completely different situations. As long as one could avoid the sharpness of the spear tip, the heavenly essence spear would not pose much of a threat. However, the power of the Space Dispersing Ruler was extremely terrifying, and even cultivators of the Shiman family, who specialized in body tempering, would have their tendons and bones snapped if they were here. Piak! The Space Dispersing Ruler landed in Kitsune's palm. Kitsune did not move at all. In fact, there was no emotion in her eyes at all. Someone had received the Khanate spirit weapon, Space Dispersing Ruler, bare-handed. The crowd grimaced and felt their teeth ache. Was that even a body of flesh and blood? The eyes of the crowd were filled with disbelief. Finally, Dongfangji panicked. Both of her Khanate spirit weapons were snatched away by Kitsune bare-handed. Even if she used her other trump cards, there was no way she would be a match for Kitsune. Dongfangji's figure moved. She wanted to withdraw and leave. Unfortunately, Kitsune was faster than her. After receiving the two Khanate spirit weapons, Kitsune did not stop in her tracks. In a flash, she appeared before Dongfangji in the blink of an eye. Woo! Kitsune gripped the Sky Origin spear and thrust it towards Dongfangji's head. How dare you! Dongfangji screamed and tore the talisman in her hand. A jade-green light spread out and enveloped Dongfangji. Puff! The heavenly essence spear stabbed into the giant green light barrier. It was as if it had pierced through an airbag, causing the light barrier to instantly collapse. Dongfangji's pupils constricted and her face turned pale. One had to know that her protective talisman could withstand a blow from a nascent soul cultivator. She had never thought that this talisman would actually be shattered by Kitsune in an instant. Before she could think further, she felt a sharp pain in her abdomen. A tyrannical force collided with her Jin Dan. Ka. Dongfangji's eyes widened. She could clearly sense cracks appearing on the Jin Dan in her body. Instantly, the cracks filled the entire Jin Dan. It was shattered. Her Jin Dan was shattered by Kitsune's Space Dispersing Ruler. Thud. 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 Dongfangji retreated continuously and staggered. Her legs went wobbly, and she fell to the ground unsteadily. With her Jin Dan shattered, her cultivation of more than 50 years was destroyed instantly. Initially, for a perfected being Jin Dan, who had a lifespan of 500 years, she was in her 50s. But now that her Jin Dan was shattered and her spirit energy was drained, her lifespan had dropped to the 100 years of a mortal instantly. If she was in her 50s, it meant that she was over 50 years old. In a few breaths, the black hair by her temples had already turned white, and there were a few more wrinkles on her face, revealing her old age. At the spectator area, with a loud smack, the teacup in Dongfangyi's hands was crushed. Bitch, how dare you! Dongfangyi's face was gloomy. He had never expected that in this aristocratic family tournament, those ants from the Kitami clan would dare to attack a genius of the aristocratic family. Dongfangyi's face was filled with murderous intent. Today, not only will Kitsune die, but the members of the Kitami clan will also be buried with her. As if sensing the danger, the leader of the Kitami clan looked terrified and uneasy. The rest of the clan members were also trembling with fear. Although Kitsune had won, there was no excitement on their faces. Instead, it was as if they had lost their parents. Among the crowd, the only one who was calm and collected was Su Zimo. On the stone platform, Dongfangji was defeated and Jin Dan was crippled. Immediately after, another figure rushed up. "Bitch, how dare you hurt Ji? You must have a death wish." Shimin Jingrui rushed up and cursed. Waving his palm, the bloodlight mirror in midair buzzed and spun, smashing towards Kitsune fiercely. Kitsune's expression did not change as she swung the sky-dispersing ruler in reverse and slashed forward. Clang! The two connate spirit weapons collided with an ear-piercing sound of metal clashing. The bloodlight mirror was sent flying. At the same time, Shimin Jingrui had already closed in. Raising his fist, he punched towards Kitsune. When this punch came out, it immediately burst out with an extremely strong murderous aura. The Shimin family specialized in metal elemental dermic arts and melee killing techniques. With a mocking expression, Kitsune put away the sky-dispersing ruler and punched Shimin Jingrui's fist in reverse as well. Bang! The two fists collided, and it was as though they were defeated. Kitsune did not move at all with an indifferent expression. As for Shimin Jingrui, his expression changed continuously. Right after, the sound of bones cracking could be heard from his arm in a horrifying manner. His entire arm was crippled by a single punch from Kitsune. Shimin Jingrui was a ruthless person as well. Gritting his teeth, he did not dare to make a single sound. Instead, he fled towards the exit of the stone platform. "Jingrui, take me with you," Dongfangji shouted. Her Jin Dan was crippled, and she could not even jump down from the stone platform. When Shimin Jingrui heard Dongfangji shout, he looked over instinctively and was shocked. Right now, Dongfangji was already old and no longer had her former glory. A look of disgust flashed through the depths of Shimin Jingrui's eyes as he turned around and fled on his own. "Why you?" Dongfangji was so angry that she was trembling with a hopeless expression. Vows of undying love and accompanying each other in life and death were all lies. "What are you guys looking at? Take down that bitch." Shimin Zai stood up with an ugly expression on his face as he shouted loudly. Swash! 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 Immediately, 5 figures stood out from Shimin Zai's subordinates, exuding a powerful aura and surrounded by dermic powers. With murderous intent, they charged towards Kitsune. Jinying Jinjuan. Kitsune had crippled the most outstanding Jin Dan cultivators of the Dongfang and Shimin families. This had thoroughly angered Shimin Zai and Dongfang Yi. "The few of you, go and detain the members of the Kitami clan. I want to cripple their cultivations one by one and torture them slowly." Dongfang Yi also waved his hand and gave the order. Soon, a few Jinying Jinjuan from the Dongfang family stood out and charged towards the Kitami clan. Due to Kitsune's sudden appearance, the aristocratic family tournament had completely gone out of control. Chapter 1361. Shimin Zai Dongfang Yi, what are you guys doing? When Nangong Ling saw that the situation was amiss, she slammed the table and stood up hollering. Yu Hanyan and Ru Xian stood up as well, frowning. Just now, they could still sit still when Dongfangji and Shimin Jingrui joined forces to deal with Kitsune. After all, Kitsune was Su Zimo's eldest disciple. Even against 2 perfected Jin Dan, she was not in any danger. But now that the 5th Jinying Jinjuan of the Shimin family was making a move, the nature of the situation changed completely. This was blatantly bullying Baiming Shui, bullying the Baiming family, because there was no one left. Nangong Ling, let me ask you what you're trying to do. Dongfang Yi's expression was cold as he pointed at Kitsune and said coldly, "That SL*T is ruthless. How dare she cripple a paragon of my Dongfang family? If I let her leave, where will my Dongfang family's face go?" "The Dongfang family is so domineering," Yu Hanyan sneered. "You're the only one who's allowed to destroy someone else's Jin Dan, but not allowed someone else to cripple someone from your family. My Dongfang family is an ancient aristocratic family that has been around for a long time. Our status is on par with the super sects of the immortal, Buddhist and fiend sections. That's how domineering we are. What can you do about it?" Dongfang Yi's aura was domineering as he shouted, "Kitami clan, a declining aristocratic family, is nothing more than an ant in my eyes. Today, not only is that SL*T Kitsune going to die, the clansmen of the Kitami clan are going to die with her as well. Dongfang Yi Shimanzai, I advise you to stop, Nangong Ling said slowly with a grim expression. After all, he knew the two of them when he was young. Furthermore, the three aristocratic families were connected, and he was truly reminding them out of goodwill. That was because no one knew better than him. There was a terrifying person lurking in the crowd below. That was an existence comparable to an ancient taboo. Right now, this taboo was still sleeping with its eyes closed. Once this taboo was awakened, the moment it opened its eyes, it would definitely shake the heavens and earth. No one would be able to withstand it. The entire Shiman villa was going to be turned upside down. However, Nangong Ling's persuasion only made Shimanzai and Dongfang Yi sneer. Nangong Ling, before this, your Nangong family was protecting the Kitami clan, so I didn't care, Shimanzai said coldly. Now, you want to break off relations with our two great families because of a slut from the Kitami clan. Nangong Ling, let me tell you, this is Shimanzai's territory. Shimanzai's gaze was dignified, and his entire body exuded a huge pressure. He slowly said, I don't care what you Nangong Ling have learned after going out to gain experience. But today, even if you're a true dragon, you have to coil up for me. The crowd was also in a state of chaos. Who would have thought that a single Baiming Shui would cause the commanders of the three noble families to confront each other and draw their swords? Shimanzai's words were extremely decisive, and there was no room for negotiation. If Nangong Ling insisted, she could only clash head-on with the Shiman and Dongfang families and break out into a war. Furthermore, Shimanzai's words were definitely not a threat. After all, this was the Shiman family's territory. There were definitely some Dharma characteristic experts hidden in this villa. If the Nangong family and the Shiman family fought, these experts would definitely appear. The Nangong family was definitely no match for them. Nangong Ling's forehead was covered in sweat, and she had a troubled expression. Right then, Yu Hanyun secretly tugged at the corner of Nangong Ling's clothes and looked towards the crowd. Nangong Ling looked over instinctively. The crowd below was already in chaos. However, in the surging crowd, there was still a green-robed man who was calm and composed. His eyes were closed, as though he did not care about everything around him. Even when the Jining Jinjuan of the Shiman family and Dongfang families appeared, that person did not open his eyes. Ru Xian sent a voice transmission. Strange. Didn't Granduncle Master say that no one is allowed to bully Kitsune? Why does he not seem anxious at all? Let's wait and see first. It won't be too late for us to take action if Granduncle Master has any instructions. Yu Hanyun sent a voice transmission with her spirit consciousness. Nangong Ling nodded and sat back down slowly. On the other side, on the stone platform, against the 5 Jining Jinjuan of the Shiman family surrounding her, Kitsune's eyes flashed with panic. Even if she was facing 50 perfected Jin Dan, she would not be afraid. However, there were 5 Jining Jinjuan of the Shiman family surrounding her. Before she cultivated the Wu Dao, she was only a perfected Jin Dan. Even if she cultivated the Wu Dao and reached the 8th transformation of the Wu Dao, her cultivation was only equivalent to the Jin Dan realm. The nascent soul realm was a major cultivation realm away from the Jin Dan realm. In Kitsune's understanding, that major cultivation realm was an insurmountable chasm. She had never fought against a Jining Jinjuan before, let alone against 5 Jining Jinjuan of the Shiman family. As such, she could not help but feel a little flustered and timid. Kitsune looked at Su Zimo instinctively. Su Zimo stood in the crowd with his eyes closed, as though he did not notice what was happening. Kitsune realized that she could only rely on herself to resolve the situation before her. Naturally, Su Zimo would not make a move. As a cultivator, he would definitely face a situation like this when he ventured into the cultivation world in the future. Perhaps it would be even more dangerous than this. Su Zimo could not be by Kitsune's side all the time. The situation before them was a test for Kitsune. Only by passing this test could Kitsune grow rapidly. Moreover, in Su Zimo's heart, the difference of a major cultivation realm was not considered bullying. As his eldest disciple, If she could not even handle this situation, then all his years of teaching would have been in vain. On the stone platform, boom, boom, the 5 Jining Jinjuan of the Shiman family landed one after another, causing the entire stone platform to shake violently. Among the 3 aristocratic families, the Shiman family specialized in body tempering and close combat. Clang, clang, clang. The 5 successors of the Shiman family took out their destiny dermic weapons one after another, either sabers or swords. In a flash, they surrounded Kitsune. At the nascent soul realm, one had already cultivated an essence spirit and could use dermic powers. If it were any other cultivator, they would not be able to withstand the pressure and would be captured without a fight. However, Kitsune channeled her chi blood with all her might under the immense pressure. A roar came from within her body as her aura surged to its limit. Ah! Kitsune roared into the sky. Faced with the encirclement of the 5 Jining Jinjuan, she did not retreat. Instead, she advanced and made the first move. Boom! Kitsune strode forward and rushed to the front of one of the Jining Jinjuan. Holding the heavenly essence spear, which was shrouded in energy, she stabbed it viciously at his head. You must have a death wish. With a cold expression, that person slashed his saber at the heavenly essence spear. Clang! The saber and spear collided and sparks flew everywhere. A look of astonishment flashed across that person's eyes. As a cultivator of the Shiman family, his physical body and bloodline were already strong. Furthermore, after cultivating to the nascent soul realm and refining his physical body and bloodline with dermic powers, it was even more terrifying. Not only that, he also had the help of his destiny dermic weapon. In his opinion, he would be able to defeat Kitsune with a single slash of his saber. Following that, he would be able to kill Kitsune with a second slash. However, he did not expect that the moment the two of them collided, he would feel an extremely terrifying force enter his body through his saber. The force was so ferocious that his physical body and bloodline could not withstand it. Chapter 1362. The Jining Jinjuan of the Shiman family felt as though he was not facing a human, but a pure-blooded ferocious beast in human form. Thump! Against that terrifying power, the Jining Jinjuan knelt on the ground. The crowd was shocked. The Shiman Zei and Dongfang Yi widened their eyes in disbelief as well. Kitsune's strength had reached such a level that she could even suppress the Jining Jinjuan? Bang! Kitsune extended her leg and stabbed that person in the chest. The Jining Jinjuan shuddered and his heart exploded. He spat out a mouthful of blood, and his blood chi drained rapidly as he looked dispirited. At the same time, the 4 Jining Jinjuan of the Shiman family behind her rushed forward. Kitsune swung the sky-dispersing ruler and slashed behind her. Clang! The sky-dispersing ruler collided with the 4 dermic weapons. Snap! The sky-dispersing ruler shattered. Among them, one of the Jining Jinjuan's dermic weapons was a Khanate perfected Lord dermic weapon that broke the sky-dispersing ruler. However, the 4 Jining Jinjuan shuddered and could not help but take a step back. With her spirit weapon, Kitsune still had the upper hand in terms of strength against the 4 of them. Although the sky-dispersing ruler shattered, Kitsune was invigorated and shook off her initial panic and fear. With a burning gaze, she strode forward and attacked once more. Kitsune raised her heavenly essence spear and stabbed it towards the face of one of the Jining Jinjuan. Break! The Jining Jinjuan hollered and slashed with his sword. Just now, it was the Khanate perfected Lord dermic weapon in his hands that broke the sky-dispersing ruler. Kitsune targeted that person immediately. Clang! Just as that person expected, the heavenly essence spear broke. However, that person shuddered as well. The heavenly essence spear was imbued with a powerful force that flowed into his body along with the magic tool, making him feel uncomfortable. Fortunately, he had been training his physique all year round. If it had been Jining Jinjuan from the Dongfang family or the Nangong family, he would have been injured. Just as the Jining Jinjuan trembled, Kitsune's eyes shone brightly. She rushed forward and instantly cut into the man's chest, avoiding the other 3 Jining Jinjuan's weapons. She reached out and pressed her hand on the man's chest. Crack! That person's chest caved in, and his eyes were wide open. His entire body was powerless as he fell limply to the ground. In the blink of an eye, 2 Jining Jinjuan from the Shiman family had been crippled. After practicing Wu Dao, Kitsun's strength, speed, reflexes, and spiritual senses had all reached a terrifying level. Whoosh! An evil gust of wind blew from behind. As though she had eyes at the back of her head, Kitsun did not even turn back. A series of crackling sounds came from within her body, and her body suddenly shrank, as though she had turned into a dwarf, dodging the sharpness of the 3 dermic weapons by a hair's breadth. At the tsunami blood level, techniques like tendons transformation and bone shrinkage were even easier for her. The remaining 3 Jining Jinjuan were stunned. Kitsun stretched her body once more and arrived before one of the Jining Jinjuan. She reached out and grabbed the Jining Jinjuan's throat. Exclamation point. Instantly, the Jining Jinjuan's throat was ripped apart, and he fell to the ground convulsing. In the spectator stands, Shimanze's expression was already extremely gloomy. In his heart, Kitsun was already a dead person. However, he was a void reversion after all. Due to his status, he endured it and did not make a move. On the other side, the Jining Jinjuan of the Dongfang aristocrat family, who were initially charging towards the Kitami clan, noticed what was happening and turned around one after another. Shoo! 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 Before the 7 Jining Jinjuan of the Dongfang aristocrat family arrived, they struck one after another and summoned their destiny dermic weapons. Be it swords or spears, they charged towards Kitsun through the void. Kitsun sensed danger, and the pressure on her increased. On the stone platform, there were only 2 Jining Jinjuan of the Shiman family left. If the 2 perfected lords of the Shiman family were to close in and hold her back, her movement technique would be restricted, and the perfected lords of the Dongfang aristocrat family would attack from afar. She would be in an extremely dangerous situation. At that thought, Kitsun strode forward and charged towards the 2 Jining Jinjuan of the Shiman family, ignoring the flying swords and spears behind her. The 2 Jining Jinjuan were experienced as well, and no longer took the initiative to attack. Instead, they changed their strategy and focused on holding back Kitsun. A resolute look flashed through Kitsun's eyes. Suddenly, she reached out and grabbed the dermic weapon of one of the Jining Jinjuan. You must have a death wish. When the Jining Jinjuan of the Shiman family caught sight of that, he was delighted and hurriedly swung the sword in his hands, wanting to slice off Kitsun's palm. Piak! Kitsun gripped his sword with her palm, and fresh blood flowed from her palm. However, the sword did not budge at all. The Jining Jinjuan looked flustered. Kitsun took advantage of the situation and rushed forward. She slapped the top of his head and killed him. The other Jining Jinjuan of the Shiman family did not manage to escape either. Kitsun rushed forward and killed him despite the injury to her palm. Poof! Poof! At that moment, the continuous pursuit had exhausted a great deal of Kitsun's mental strength and energy. She avoided the 5 dermic weapons that came after her. But there were still 2 dermic weapons that she could not dodge in time. Her abdomen was pierced by a spear. On her thigh, there was a wound so deep that her bones could be seen. Blood was dripping from it. In addition, just now, she had forcefully killed the 2 Jining Jinjuan of the Shiman family. Her palms were covered in blood, and she looked extremely miserable. *tch accept your death. One of the Jining Jinjuan of the Dongfang family looked down at Kitsun from above. In their eyes, such a serious injury was equivalent to losing the ability to fight. Kitsun was still standing at the same spot. She was already an arrow at the end of its flight. But soon, the expressions of the 7 Jining Jinjuan of the Dongfang family gradually changed. They could not help but widen their eyes and constrict their pupils. Hiss! Gasps could also be heard from the crowd. In the spectator area, Shimanze and Dongfangyi looked grave. They stared at the wound on Kitsun's body without blinking and muttered, "How is this possible?" Under countless gazes, the wound on Kitsun's body was healing at a speed visible to the naked eye. Even around the huge bloody hole in her abdomen, granulation was rapidly growing and intertwining, healing the wound. In just a short while, the wound on Kitsun's palm had already healed. The wound on her thigh had already formed a scar. In the blink of an eye, the scar started to fall off. This What a terrifying self-healing ability. I know now. It's Invincible Vajra. Kitsune has cultivated to Wu Dao's 8th transformation. Invincible Vajra. Exclamations could be heard from the crowd. Wu Dao's 8th transformation. Invincible Vajra. Did not mean that one would be invulnerable to weapons and invulnerable to fire and water at this level. After all, no matter how strong one's physical body was, there were even more terrifying forces or divine weapons that could injure it. The so-called Invincible Vajra meant that one could use their powerful self-healing ability to repair and heal wounds after being injured to ensure combat strength as much as possible. Even pure-blooded ferocious beasts could not compare to such a terrifying self-healing ability. What are you waiting for? Dongfangyi could not help but shout. Are you waiting for this B***TCH to recover before attacking? Chapter 1363. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. One after another, dermic weapons tore through the void and sped towards Kitsune, arriving instantly. Kitsune twisted and turned on the stone platform. Her movements were nimble and swift, like a Jiao dragon. Without her feet touching the ground, she rushed toward one of the Jining Jinjuan. Kitsune's physical body and bloodline power were witnessed by all the cultivators present. Even Jining Jinjuan of the Shiman family had been suppressed, let alone the perfected cultivators of the Dongfang family. Jining Jinjuan reacted quickly and retreated. At the same time, he cast a spell with his hands and cast a spell towards Kitsune. Boom! Kitsune raised her head and punched out, colliding heavily with the spell. Kitsune, who was equivalent to the Jindan realm, was able to break Jining Jinjuan's spell just by relying on her physical body and qi and blood. Of course, after colliding with this spell, she lost the chance to catch up to this person. Boom! 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 The rest of Jining Jinjuan's spells also fell from the sky. Numerous Dharma artifacts, together with spells, kept suppressing Kitsune's space, making it impossible for her to get close to any of the cultivators. Of course, Kitsune had cultivated to the Invincible Vajra level, and her self-healing ability was astonishing. These 7 Jining Jinjuan of the Dongfang family wanted to surround and kill Kitsune, but it would be very difficult for them to do so within a short period of time. 7 Jining Jinjuan had made a move to strangle a perfected Jindan, but they were now in a stalemate. Dongfangyi's face was ashen. He even had the urge to kill this Kitsune himself. However, in front of everyone, Dongfangyi thought for a while and said in a low voice, Wu Hua, the 5 of you go and suppress this bitch as fast as you can. Perfected Lord Wu Hua nodded slightly and arrived in midair in a flash. The 4 Jining Jinjuan followed closely behind. Look, another 5 Jining Jinjuan from the Dongfang family have made their move. Kitsune is done for. I'm afraid that the Kitami clan will be annihilated. It's a pity that I've never heard of any cultivator who could cultivate Wu Dao to the 8th transformation. Speaking of which, Dao Lord Araki Takashi is indeed the #1 monster incarnate of all times. The martial sutra that he created can actually cultivate such terrifying power. The crowd was in chaos as the cultivators discussed animatedly. Nangong Ling, Yu Hanyun, and Ru Xian all looked nervous. The 3 of them subconsciously looked at Su Zimo in the crowd. At that moment, Su Zimo was still calm and composed with his eyes closed, as though he did not see Kitsune in danger at all. Granduncle Master is way too calm. He's allowing his disciple to be surrounded just like that? Ru Xian was secretly speechless. Nangong Ling was confused as well, and sent a voice transmission. Perhaps Granduncle Master has other intentions. Right then, the situation on the battlefield changed with the addition of 5 Jining Jinjuan. Initially, Kitsune could still hold on against the 7 Jining Jinjuan. But now, she was clearly struggling against the encirclement of 12 Jining Jinjuan. Continuous battles. Furthermore, it was a battle against Jining Jinjuan, and Kitsune was extremely draining. If not for the fact that she cultivated the Wu Dao and had immense blood qi and stamina, she would not have been able to hold on long ago. As time passed by, Kitsune's movement technique gradually slowed down, and her footsteps were no longer as agile as before. Poof! A slight delay in dodging caused a wound to appear on Kitsune's arm that was dripping with blood. Poof! Before that wound could heal, another flying sword sliced across the Kitami clan's thigh, causing blood to splatter. Bai Mingshue's figure staggered. However, she grit her teeth and remained silent with an expressionless face. SL*T. Let's see how long more you can last. Perfected Lord Wu Hua smirked with a mocking look in his eyes. Poof, poof, poof. More and more wounds appeared on Kitsune's body. No matter how strong her regeneration capabilities were, she could not recover. Not long after, Bai Mingxue had already become a bloody person, covered in cuts and bruises, looking extremely miserable. However, there was no hint of submission in Kitsune's eyes. On the contrary, it was as though a terrifying power was gradually awakening within her body. Actually, ever since she started cultivating the Wu Dao, Kitsune had never fought against a true expert, nor had she faced any life and death calamities. Even with Su Zimo's teachings, her accomplishments were limited. Back then, Dayu also left Su Zimo and Songlang mountain range for a year without caring about him. It was only then that Su Zimo truly grew. But now that she had defeated Dongfang Ji, the knot in her heart was gone, and her thoughts were clear. She felt an unprecedented joy, and had a new understanding of the Wu Dao. Coupled with the immense pressure and constant stimulation of life and death, the bottleneck of Wu Dao's 9th transformation was finally loosened. Ah! Suddenly Kitsune reared her head and howled. Although she was drenched in blood, it was as though a shackle had been broken in her body. An unprecedented power burst forth from within her body, and was about to burst out. That howl was extremely terrifying. It was like the roar of a dragon or an elephant. Even perfected Lord Wu Hua and the others felt a piercing pain in their ears. Their bodies swayed, and they almost fell from midair. Could that be Wu Dao's 9th transformation, the power of Dragon Elephant? A series of exclamations sounded from the crowd. Bang! 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 Suddenly, Kitsune swung her fists and punched in all directions, venting the surging power in her body. The perfected Lord Dermic weapons that were thrusting over were sent flying by Kitsune's fists and fell into the crowd, causing a commotion. Psst! The expressions of perfected Lord Wu Hua and the others changed. Even perfected Lord Dermic weapons could not hurt Kitsune? Everyone, let's join forces and suppress that woman completely. Perfected Lord Wu Hua hollered and channeled his essence spirit wildly, conjuring a powerful dermic art. The other Jinying Jinjuan conjured hand seals, and conjured dermic arts as well. Instantly, the dermic powers around the stone platform surged. 12 Dharma spells tore through the air, bursting forth with terrifying pressure. They pressed down on Bai Mingxue with lightning speed. Kitsune's gaze was cold as her bloodline surged and circulated wildly. A power that originated from the ancient era was awakened. Splash! The sound of a tsunami could be heard in the void. This was not tsunami blood. Right in front of the crowd, a dark and deep ocean appeared behind Kitsune with an extremely cold aura. Northern Dark Ocean. Bai Ming-ao murmured softly with a confused expression. His Jin Dan phenomenon was the Northern Dark Ocean, and he was naturally the most familiar with that ocean. However, the power released by the ocean behind Kitsune was clearly countless times stronger than his Northern Dark Ocean. In front of this ocean, his golden core phenomenon was like a tiny puddle. How could this be? Bai Ming-ao blinked in confusion. Shouldn't there be a Jin Dan phenomenon when cultivating Wu Dao? This. The voice of the Kitami clan member trembled slightly. That's not a Jin Dan phenomenon, but a bloodline phenomenon. Right then, Su Zimo opened his eyes as well. His gaze landed on the ocean behind Kitsune, as though it could penetrate the depths of the ocean and reach the depths of the Northern Dark Ocean. There seemed to be an even more terrifying existence there. Chapter 1364. A bloodline phenomenon. Shimanzai and Dongfang Yi both jumped to their feet. Their expressions changed greatly as they cried out in alarm. Both of them were void reversions, and knew how difficult it was to cultivate their bloodlines to the tsunami blood realm. There was even a legendary bloodline phenomenon above the tsunami blood realm. Legend has it that Protoss bloodlines were the only natural phenomenons. It was harder than ascending to the heavens for human cultivators to cultivate a phenomenon with their bloodlines. If Kitsune had only cultivated to the 8th, or even 9th transformation of the Wu Dao, the two of them would have been able to maintain their composure. However, they could no longer sit still when they caught sight of the bloodline phenomenon. The same thought flashed through their minds. They had to strangle Kitsune. She had only cultivated to the Jin Dan realm, and was already able to condense a bloodline phenomenon. How terrifying would Kitsune be if she was allowed to mature? The two of them did not dare to imagine. Rumble. On the battlefield, the northern ocean surged and covered the skies, engulfing perfected Lord Wu Hua, and the others instantly. The seawater was bone-chillingly cold. Among the 12 Jining Jinjuan, some of them had lower cultivation realms and weaker blood qi. In fact, rows of ice shards formed in their bloodlines and their limbs froze. 2 Jining Jinjuan's faces were frightfully pale, and a layer of frost appeared in their eyes. Their gazes dimmed and their bodies gradually sank into the sea, vanishing. They were dead. The moment the bloodline phenomenon descended, it devoured the 2 Jining Jinjuan before long. The remaining 10 Jining Jinjuan struggled in the northern ocean as well, trying to break free. However, the seawater was turbulent and exuded an extremely cold aura. It was not that easy to break free. Only perfected Lord Wu Hua and the other two tore their protection talismans and rode their dermic weapons into the distance without turning back, wanting to break free from the range of the phenomenon. All of a sudden, in the middle of this deep ocean, a huge semicircular wave suddenly rose up high. It was as if there was a huge monster emerging from the ocean's surface. On the surface of the sea, terrifying waves instantly rose up and whizzed past. The few Jining Jinjuan, who were still struggling in the sea, were instantly submerged by the waves. They could no longer float up and died. Only true Lord Wu Hua and the other two who had already fled far away were spared. Even so, the three of them were completely scared out of their wits. Their faces were drained of blood, and it was unknown whether it was because of the cold sea water or because they were frightened. The three of them were trembling all over, and their expressions were filled with terror. Suddenly, on the surface of the sea, 2 cold lights appeared. It was a pair of huge eyes. This eye was as big as the scorching sun in the sky. Compared to this pair of eyes, all the cultivators were like tiny specks of dust. The group of cultivators looked up with agape mouths and shocked expressions. Under countless gazes, a massive creature gradually surfaced from the surface of the sea and revealed its true appearance. Its body was so massive that it seemed to be thousands of kilometers long. It covered the skies and enveloped the entire Shimen villa. Thump, thump. Some cultivators could not withstand the pressure and knelt on the ground one after another. In the face of this massive creature, all the cultivators, including Jining Jinjuan and Void Reversions present, felt their hearts skip a beat. It was a suppression of their bloodline. It was a fear that originated from the ancient era. Heavens, what is that? Some cultivators' voices trembled. They were completely scared out of their wits. The Dharma Daojun who were initially sitting quietly in Shimen Villa were alarmed by the commotion and appeared one after another, looking up. Psst! The Dharma Daojun shuddered and gasped. What demon beast is that? Could it be a whale beast from the ocean? Impossible. Even the colossal whale race isn't that terrifying. That aura seems to be. Some of the Dharma Daojuan's hearts skipped a beat when they thought of a possibility. In a cave abode in a corner of the villa, an old man in seclusion opened his eyes slowly. The old man's face was filled with wrinkles and his gaze was ancient. No one knew how long he had lived. His gaze seemed to be able to penetrate the layers of obstructions and land on the massive creature above the firmaments. Even with his knowledge, he could not help but frown when he saw the massive creature and murmured softly, "One of the primordial 9 races, Kuan?" On the battlefield, the massive creature widened its gigantic eyes and looked at perfected Lord Wu Hua, and the other two with a gaze colder than the seawater. The three of them were still in the North Sea. In its mind, this was already trespassing on its territory. As though he had gone mad, perfected Lord Wu Hua mustered his last bit of strength and fled into the distance. All of a suddenly, the demon beast opened its mouth and released an irresistible suction force, as though it wanted to devour the entire world. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Seawater surged into its mouth. perfected Lord Wuxia, and the other two could not control themselves, and were sucked in by the demon beast. In the blink of an eye, the three of them were devoured by the demon beast and vanished completely. Dead. The three Jining Jinjuan were devoured alive by the demon beast. Including the 5 Jining Jinjuan of the Shiman family, there were 17 Jining Jinjuan. None of them were spared. Even though Nangong Ling and the other two were mentally prepared, they were still shocked speechless at this moment. The bloodline phenomenon that Kitsune cultivated was not the North Sea. It was the massive demon beast hidden in the depths of the ocean. At that moment, Kitsune was in a strange state as well. Ever since she released her bloodline phenomenon, Kitsune had been frowning and turning to look in the direction of North Sea Town with a lost expression. Right at this moment, a strand of extremely gloomy killing intent appeared. A sense of danger flashed through Kitsune's mind. A strong sense of danger descended, almost suffocating her. The void was filled with a terrifying spirit consciousness fluctuation. At the spectator area, the glabellas of Dongfang Yi and Shimanze shone at the same time. Their spirit consciousnesses condensed and released an essence spirit secret skill that descended on Kitsune. As void reversions and commanders of 2 aristocratic families, the 2 of them did not intend to attack personally due to their statuses. However, after Kitsune's bloodline phenomenon descended, the 2 of them could no longer hold it in. They had to attack and kill Kitsune. The 2 of them had a tacit understanding and did not even use any dermic arts or weapons. Instead, they used the most lethal killing method of void reversions, essence spirit secret skills. Essence spirit secret skills were killing techniques that targeted the essence spirit directly. Even Jining Jinjuan could not defend against it, let alone perfected being Jin Dan. His spirit consciousness was like a saber that could pierce Kitsune's mind instantly. Nangong Ling sensed the spirit consciousness fluctuation and quickly realized something. However, it was already too late for him to stop it. Don't! Nangong Ling only had time to exclaim. It's too late! A vicious glint flashed through Dongfang Yi's eyes. Shimanze also said coldly, to be able to die in the hands of the 2 of us, you bitch, can be considered to have died a worthy death. Chapter 1365. Sister. Baiming Ao exclaimed with a hopeless expression. The eyes of the clan leader of the Kitami clan dimmed, as well as he sighed internally. It was not easy for the Kitami clan to produce a monster incarnate that was hard to come by in 10,000 years. To think that he would be killed by the 3 aristocratic families before he could even mature. Even Nangong Ling and the others could not make a move in time, let alone others. Furthermore, even if everyone from the Kitami clan managed to react, who could stop the essence spirit secret skill of a void reversion? No one. The burst of an essence spirit secret skill was extremely ferocious and had already descended almost instantly. On the stone platform, Baiming Shui could only watch this scene helplessly. She could not resist at all against a power of this level. No matter how strong her bloodline phenomenon was, it could not defend against an essence spirit secret skill. This was the suppression of a major cultivation realm. A void reversion could kill perfected Jin Dan with a single thought. All of a sudden, Kitsune felt her wrist heating up. Suddenly, 6 mysterious and vast Sanskrit chants rang out in her mind. Immediately after, a sacred golden light screen appeared around her body. Mysterious and ancient runes were engraved on it. It's the Buddha beads that Master gave me. A thought flashed through Kitsune's mind. In a flash, the 2 essence spirit secret skills of Shimanze and Dongfangyi descended and passed through Kitsune's bloodline phenomenon, colliding heavily against the golden barrier. When the 2 powers collided, the barrier trembled violently, and ripples appeared on its surface. However, the entire process was silent. In the end, the 2 essence spirit secret skills failed to break through the defense of the golden barrier and dissipated silently. Kitsune's face was pale as she retreated a few steps. Although her bloodline phenomenon had already dissipated against the impact of the 2 essence spirit secret skills, she survived. Kitsune panted slightly with surprise and joy in her eyes. The golden barrier that enveloped her finally could not hold on any longer and dimmed, dissipating into nothingness, as though everything earlier was an illusion. In midair, Shimanze's eyes widened. The sneer on his face froze as he watched this scene in disbelief. The ferocity in Dongfang Yi's eyes had just risen, but it gradually turned into astonishment. The huge Shiman mountain villa, which was originally noisy and chaotic, suddenly became so quiet that even the sound of a pin dropping could be heard. All the cultivators stared at the young girl on the stone platform, dumbfounded. It was as if they had seen a ghost. How could this be? Two void reversions had attacked and even used essence spirit secret techniques. But Kitsune was still alive? Just now, what had happened? Kitsune's body seemed to be covered by a layer of golden light. What was that? Countless questions surfaced in the minds of the cultivators. Nangongling's heart skipped a beat. Her divine sense swept over Kitsune's wrist, and she couldn't help but be shocked. Mingwang prayer beads. To think that Granduncle Master would value Aunt Master so highly that he would even give her the Mingwang prayer beads. Nangongling felt a deep sense of envy. Essence spirit dermic weapons were extremely precious. As for the Mingwang prayer beads, they were supreme great essence spirit dermic weapons, and were the cornerstone treasures of Daming Monastery in the past. In that short period of time, Shimanze and Dongfangyi gradually reacted as well. It's an essence spirit dermic weapon. Shimanze narrowed his eyes and his gaze flickered. Although he did not know that it was the Mingwang prayer beads, based on his experience, he guessed that Kitsune was definitely wearing an extremely powerful essence spirit dermic weapon. Kitsune was only at the Jindan realm, and it was impossible for her to use that essence spirit dermic weapon. Even so, the strength of that essence spirit dermic weapon alone was enough to defend against their two essence spirit secret skills. If that essence spirit dermic weapon were to fall into his hands, how much power would he be able to unleash? Almost instantly, Shimanze and Dongfangyi were tempted. Could this be the secret that the Baiming family is protecting? A thought flashed through Dongfangyi's mind. The more he thought about it, the more he felt that there was a high chance that his guess was the truth. Even if Kitsune manages to avoid this calamity with the essence spirit dermic weapon, she won't be able to escape death. That's right. There are way too many ways for void reversions to kill her. The difference between the two of them isn't something that an essence spirit dermic weapon can make up for. Gradually, some voices sounded from the crowd. SL*T, where did you get that essence spirit dermic weapon on you? On the other hand, Shimanze was in no hurry to attack and asked slowly. He had also thought that the essence spirit dermic weapon might have something to do with the secret guarded by the Baiming family. Therefore, he wanted to find out the truth from Kitsune. Kitsune's heart skipped a beat. She merely pursed her lips without saying anything. There was no way she was going to expose her master. She already knew that her master was severely injured in the Battle of Heaven and Earth Valley. His essence spirit was damaged, and he could not even use his dermic powers, causing his combat strength to decrease immensely. If she were to expose her master's whereabouts now, it would be equivalent to putting him in a dead end. There was no need to wait for the super sex or primordial races outside. The strength of the three aristocratic families alone was enough to kill her master. You're not going to tell me? The corners of Shimanze's mouth curled up slightly. His expression was cold as he exuded the aura of a return to void stage cultivator. It's fine if you don't tell me. I, Shimanze, have many methods that can make you wish you were dead. Shimanze revealed a cruel smile. At that time, you'll kneel at my feet and beg me to kill you. I was the one who gave her that essence spirit dermic weapon. All of a sudden, a voice sounded from the crowd. It was calm, but it reverberated through the entire place. Nangongling, Yu Hanyun and Ru Xian were shocked. The cultivators turned towards the voice. A green-robed man squeezed through the crowd from the Kitami clan and walked out slowly. This person had delicate features, but his face was withered and yellow, as though he was severely ill. He looked extremely weak and did not have much cultivation. He did not look like a cultivator. However, this person's eyes were extremely bright and full of vigor. What are you doing? Don't send yourself to your death. When Baiming Ao saw Su Zimo stand out, he grabbed Su Zimo's arm instinctively. Without even looking at him, Su Zimo flung Baiming Ao's hand away with a light flick. He felt his palm go numb and could not exert any strength for a long time. Biming Ao's mouth was agape with a stunned expression, unable to snap out of it for a moment. In that short period of time, Shimanze and Dongfang Yi had already scanned Su Zimo's body and did not sense any threat. The expressions of the two men quickly relaxed. Oh! Shimanze looked at Su Zimo with a mocking look in his eyes. He smiled gently and asked, "Who are you?" "I'm her master." Su Zimo pointed at Kitsune on the stone platform and said indifferently, "Ha ha ha ha." Shimanze and Dongfang Yi could not help but laugh. Many cultivators of the three aristocratic families laughed as well. The current situation was extremely obvious. Kitsune was already a dead person. At this moment, anyone who dared to stand out would have to die with her. Therefore, in their eyes, this green-robed man was a fool who did not know the immensity of heaven and earth. At the spectator area, Nangong Ling, Yu Hanyan and Ru Xian did not laugh. The three of them looked at Shimanze and Dongfang Yi in silence. Their gazes were strange, as though they were looking at two dead people. Chapter 1366. Since you're her master, you gave her an essence spirit dermic weapon. Yes, that makes sense as well. Dongfang Yi nodded and looked at Su Zimo mockingly, asking with a smile, "So, what do you want to do now that you're standing out?" "Kill." Su Zimo replied expressionlessly. Actually, he had no intention of making a move in the aristocratic family competition. However, the Shiman family and the Dongfang family were overbearing. Not only did more than 10 Jinying Jinjuan attack Kitsune, 2 void reversions even took action personally. That crossed Su Zimo's bottom line. Most of the time, he could stand by idly and allow Kitsune to endure sufficient pressure. That would help her grow rapidly as well. However, the nature of things changed completely when void reversions took action. Even if his essence spirit was damaged, he was still Dao Lord Araki Takashi. He would not allow anyone to humiliate his disciple. "Kill." Dongfang Yi could not help but laugh and ask again, "Who do you want to kill?" "You." The moment that word left Su Zimo's mouth, he suddenly strode forward and stomped heavily on the ground. Boom! There was a deafening sound. The ground beneath Su Zimo's feet cracked from the impact. The surrounding crowd was caught off guard and almost fell to the ground. Their expressions were filled with shock. A figure rose from the ground, stirring up dust. In the blink of an eye, he arrived above the spectator area. Biming Ao had a shocked expression as he raised his head to look at the figure in midair and murmured instinctively, Is he still human?" This figure was way too different from the sickly figure in his mind. Su Zimo did not waste his breath on Dongfang Yi and leaped into midair. His black hair danced and his gaze was like a torch. He descended from the heavens like a god. "How dare you?" Dongfang Yi hollered with a shocked and furious expression. He really didn't think that this sickly-looking man would actually dare to attack him, and even be able to explode with such a terrifying power. Dongfang Yi's reaction was also very fast. His palm touched the storage bag, and a dark black spear was already in his hand. Dermic power surged and the spear trembled, shimmering with 5 dermic patterns. It was a perfect grade Dao being dermic weapon. "Die!" Dongfang Yi hollered and conjured hand seals with his left hand while gripping the spear with his right. He stabbed towards Su Zimo. At the same time, a dermic art with his left hand burst. Boom! The Dharma spell was the first to descend, smashing heavily onto Su Zimo's chest. Dongfang Yi was overjoyed. Even the Dharma Taoist's body would not be able to withstand his dermic art. However, the moment the joy in Dongfang Yi's eyes were, they turned Dongfang. That dermic art did not have any effect on Su Zimo at all. It was as though this person was completely fine. Although Su Zimo's bloodline was not strong, his body was not made of flesh and blood. Qinglian's true body was created with the foundation of a grade 6 creation Qinglian and the top dermic weapons of many super sects. The toughness of Qinglian's true body was comparable to Khanate Dao Lord dermic weapons. The dermic art of a void reversion could not affect him at all. Against the incoming spear, Su Zimo suddenly reached out and gripped the cold tip of the spear in a flash, thrusting it forward viciously. A tremendous force surged over. Dongfang Yi's palm could not grip the spear at all. The spear slid in his palm. Dongfang Yi shuddered and lowered his head slowly. A gigantic hole was created in his chest by Su Zimo's spear, and the bloody end of the spear protruded from his back. His heart had already been pierced by the spear, and his blood qi was draining rapidly. Dongfang Yi's eyes flashed with disbelief. All of a sudden, his vision blurred as though a figure had flashed by. Not good, Dongfang Yi exclaimed. As a paragon of the Dongfang aristocrat family, he reacted extremely quickly and chose to release his essence spirit right away. A divine light flew out from above his head, wanting to escape into the distance. However, before he could truly leave his body, a huge shadow enveloped him. Poof! Su Zimo's palm slapped Dongfang Yi's head. That palm strike shattered Dongfang Yi's head, and his essence spirit was shattered into pieces as well. He was destroyed on the spot and died. Dead. Just now, the insufferably arrogant commander of the Dongfang aristocrat family, Dongfang Yi, was slapped to death in front of everyone. From the moment Su Zimo attacked to Dongfang Yi's death, the entire process took less than 3 breaths. The eyes of the crowd nearly popped out of their sockets. Why you, how dare you? Shimen pointed at Su Zimo, and his voice trembled subconsciously. He could sense an extremely dangerous aura from Su Zimo. Hand over your life as well. Su Zimo's gaze was like lightning as he strode forward. Without any unnecessary movements, he punched straight at Shimen face. The aura of that punch was way too ferocious, and Shimen did not dare to take it head-on in his fear. Swash! A bronze mirror flew out from his glabella. Buzz! Shimen channeled his spirit consciousness. The bronze mirror expanded rapidly against the wind and blocked in front of him, almost forming an indestructible shield with 6 dermic patterns shimmering on it. A Khanate Dao being dermic weapon. In Shimen opinion, as long as he could defend against Su Zimo's attack, he would be able to escape. The Dharma Daojun in the villa must have noticed such a huge commotion. By the time the Dharma Daojun arrived, this person would definitely die. As those thoughts flashed through Shimen mind, Su Zimo's fist had already struck the bronze mirror heavily. Boom! There was a deafening sound. Shimen shuddered. Snap! Immediately after, he heard a strange sound, as though something had shattered. The next moment, his vision darkened, and he felt a sharp pain in his head before losing consciousness. In fact, he did not even understand how he died. However, the other cultivators saw it clearly. Compared to Dongfang Yi, Shimen died even faster. Shimen summoned the bronze mirror, and Su Zimo punched it. The punch had penetrated the copper mirror. The Khanate Dao being dermic weapon was penetrated by Su Zimo's body. That punch penetrated the bronze mirror and landed on Shimen face, smashing his head into mush and destroying his essence spirit on the spot. Once again, the heavens and earth fell into a brief silence. The cultivators felt as though their throats were gripped by a pair of invisible hands. They could not breathe at all. Everyone's faces were filled with fear, horror, and shock. Among the cultivators of the 3 aristocratic families, the ones with the highest cultivation realms were only void reversions, Dongfang Yi, Shimen and Nangong Ling. In their hearts, void reversions were definitely high and mighty existences that were difficult to reach. However, in the blink of an eye, 2 void reversions were reduced to corpses. Furthermore, the 2 commanders were hammered to death with their fists. The Foundation Establishment cultivators, perfected being Jin Dan, and even Jining Jinjuan, had never seen someone so decisive in killing. All of them were pale with fright and froze on the spot, not daring to move. Chapter 1367. Baiming Ao looked at the green figure, and his mind was in a mess. He was completely dumbfounded. The sickly and frail Mr. Su had vanished completely, and there was only a single image left in his mind. It was Su Zimo descending from the skies like a god and killing 2 void reversions. Baiming Ao had never seen such power before. When he recalled how he had scolded and mocked this person many times, Baiming Ao felt a sense of lingering fear and regret. Thankfully, Mr. Su was magnanimous. If it was anyone else, Baiming Ao would have died even if he had 10 lives. Sister, you're under this Mr. Su's tutelage? Baiming Ao gradually understood. No wonder sister changed so much in 3 years, and could even suppress Jining Jinjuan. So it's all because of Mr. Su. It would be a lie to say that Baiming Ao was not envious. However, although he was young, he knew that he would never have the chance to be under the tutelage of Su Zimo, due to his poor attitude towards him previously. Not to mention Baiming Ao. Even Baiming Shui was standing on the stone platform in a daze. She was somewhat unable to regain her senses, and her eyes were filled with shock. Although she was under Su Zimo's tutelage, she had never seen Su Zimo attack before. Initially, she thought that Su Zimo's combat strength was greatly reduced, because he could not even release dharmic arts, due to his injured essence spirit. However, she did not expect that Su Zimo would be able to kill 2 void reversions on the spot, without using his essence spirit, or releasing any dharmic arts. Looking at that seemingly skinny figure with a torrential aura, Kitsune suddenly had the urge to burst into tears. She had suffered countless grievances over the years. However, no one had helped her or stood out to shield her from the storm. But at that moment, there was someone standing in front of her and blocking all harm for her, even going against the ancient aristocratic families. Araki Takashi. My master is Dao Lord Araki Takashi. He is the one and only Dao Lord Araki Takashi. Kitsune was agitated and her eyes turned red. On the other side, Nangong Ling shook her head and sighed. In the end, it still came to this. Nangong Ling looked worried. Before this, he had reminded Shimen Zhe and Dongfang Yi several times not to be overbearing and not to overdo it. However, the two of them still didn't listen to his words, and ended up provoking this person. They went too far. Ru Xian said, even an outsider like me can't stand it. As a void reversion, what's the big deal about killing a perfected Jin Dan? Yu Hanyang glanced at Nangong Ling and said softly, what senior brother is worried about is the Nangong clan's choice. Yes. Nangong Ling nodded and did not say anything. Boom, boom, boom. Right then, powerful auras burst forth from various parts of the villa, causing the world to quake. Where did this thief come from? How dare he act so insolently in our Shimen villa? You must have a death wish. A series of hollers sounded. Most of the cultivators present were Foundation Establishment cultivators, and perfected Jin Dan. When such a massive spirit consciousness suppression enveloped them, all the cultivators felt their hearts skip a beat. Dharma characteristic realm. That was a spirit consciousness suppression that only Dharma Daojun could release. Even the void reversion realm was a realm that most cultivators could not reach. Dharma characteristic realm was an existence that all cultivators looked up to. Some of the cultivators present had never seen Dharma Daojun up till this point of their cultivation. To think that more than 10 Dharma Daojun would appear at the same time today. Dao Lord Purple You. Nangong Ling recognized the Dharma Daojun in the lead right away, and could not help but exclaim. Dao Lord Purple You was a Dharma Daojun, who was extremely famous among the 3 aristocratic families. 2,000 years ago, Dao Lord Purple You traveled to the Middle Continent, and formed a feud with the Dharma Daojun of Illusion Fiend cult and fought. That Dao Lord of Illusion Fiend cult was once ranked 62nd on the Dharma characteristic ranking. However, Dao Lord Purple You emerged victorious in that battle. That was also the battle that made Dao Lord Purple You famous. Rumor has it that Dao Lord Purple You's combat strength was at least in the top 30 of the Dharma characteristic ranking. That was 2,000 years ago. To think that Dao Lord Purple You would be cultivating in Shimen Villa, and would be alarmed now. Senior Purple You. Nangong Ling shouted and bowed, saying in a deep voice, this is an important matter. Senior, please gather the elders of the clan for a discussion, and think carefully before you act. Nangong Ling could not expose Su Zimo's identity. However, her words were a reminder to Dao Lord Purple You to stop, and not act rashly. Dao Lord Purple You sneered. What a joke! A thief is killing wantonly in my Shimen villa, and you want me to think twice? Even if Dao Lord Purple You could tell what Nangong Ling meant, he would not take it to heart. Even if the Dharma Daojun of the Nangong family was here, he would definitely kill this green-robed cultivator, let alone a junior like Nangong Ling. Dao Lord Purple You looked at Su Zimo with a cold expression and said slowly, I don't care what background you have, or which sect you're from. How dare you kill in Shimen Villa? Even if you're a disciple of a super sect, you'll have to pay with your life. Nangong Ling sighed internally. Tao Lord Purple Yu did not realize who he was facing. How many titular disciples and conjoint body mighty figures of super sects had died in the Tao inheritance ground, let alone disciples of super sects? You want to kill me? Su Zimo raised his head slightly and looked at Tao Lord Purple Yu with a mocking expression. Kill him. Tao Lord Purple Yu did not waste his breath on Su Zimo and waved his hand, giving the order. Shoo, shoo, shoo. Dermic weapons tore through the air one after another. Dermic powers surged around the Tao Lord Dermic weapons and almost covered the skies, sealing off all of Su Zimo's escape routes. With a cold expression, Su Zimo ignored the incoming Tao Lord Dermic weapons and soared into the air. How dare you ignore Tao Lord Dermic weapons? You must have a death wish. The expressions of the dozens of Dharma Daojun turned cold. Bang, bang, bang. One after another, Dermic weapons struck Su Zimo's body. However, they did not pierce his body as the Dharma Daojun had expected. On the contrary, many Tao Lord Dermic weapons were repelled. Be it flying swords, cold spears or bronze mirrors, none of the Tao Lord Dermic weapons could pierce Su Zimo's flesh. The crowd was shocked. This scene had completely exceeded everyone's understanding. Even Tao Lord Purple Yu and the others were shocked, let alone the low-level cultivators present. Among the Tao Lord Dermic weapons just now, there was no lack of perfect-grade Tao Lord Dermic weapons. However, perfect-grade Tao Lord Dermic weapons could not even pierce the green-robed cultivator's skin, let alone kill him. Furthermore, in the instant of just now's collision, the green-robed cultivator did not release any Dermic arts or talismans, and merely resisted with his body. Could a person's body truly be cultivated to such an invulnerable state? Suddenly, Tao Lord Purple Yu understood the deeper meaning behind Nangong Ling's words just now. Unfortunately, it was already too late. Chapter 1368. Boom. While one of the Dharma Daojun was distracted, Su Zimo had already closed in and punched the Tao Lord's head. The Dharma Daojun died on the spot. Although the bloodline of Qinglian's true body was not strong, her body was comparable to Khanate Tao Lord Dermic weapons and was indestructible. The Dharma Daojun's body could not withstand that punch. Swash! In a flash, Su Zimo arrived before another Dharma Daojun and exuded a shuddering malevolent aura with a ferocious gaze. The moment the Dharma Daojun met Su Zimo's gaze, he was scared out of his wits and felt chills run down his spine. Who was Su Zimo? In the battle of Heaven and Earth Valley, how many conjoint body mighty figures of the various super sects and primordial races died in his hands, let alone the Dharma Daojun? Although Su Zimo's essence spirit was injured, his aura did not change at all. The Dharma Daojun was intimidated by Su Zimo's aura and reacted slightly slower. As such, he was slapped on the head by Su Zimo and died on the spot. In the blink of an eye, two Dharma Daojun were dead. The fall of Shimen Zhe and Dongfang Yi had already caused the cultivators present to feel an unprecedented shock, as if the sky had collapsed and the earth had sunk. But now, with the death of two Dharma-characteristic Tao Lords, all the cultivators were dumbfounded. Those high and mighty experts who only existed in legends and were unreachable fell from midair right before their eyes with their life force extinguished. The sickly-looking cultivator killed those Dharma-characteristic experts without any hesitation or fear. It was as though the Dharma Daojun were no different from ants in his eyes. Good. Tao Lord Purple Yu was enraged as he said coldly, "How dare you start a massacre in Shimen Villa? I'm going to skin you alive and grind your bones into ashes." Boom! Tao Lord Purple Mountain attacked brazenly, and a purple mountain flew out from his glabella. It expanded against the wind and instantly turned into a towering purple mountain, a Khanate Tao Lord artifact. He had found this purple mountain in an ancient ruin. It had followed him for many years, and that was where his Tao name came from. Go! Tao Lord Purple Mountain pointed forward. The purple mountain descended with a rumble, and a large shadow shrouded the entire Shimen Manor. It emitted a terrifying pressure, and its momentum was terrifying. The crowd of cultivators was indescribably shocked. Many cultivators couldn't even withstand the pressure and fled into the distance. This purple mountain seemed to want to crush all the living beings in the villa into a bloody pulp. There was nowhere to run. Boom! The purple mountain suddenly stopped. Right in front of the crowd, a skinny figure stood beneath the purple mountain. He raised his arm and supported the towering mountain motionlessly. Compared to the purple mountain, Su Zimo's figure was as insignificant as a speck of dust. However, no matter how much Tao Lord Purple Mountain channeled his dermic powers, he could not suppress Su Zimo. Humph! Su Zimo sneered and stomped on the ground with one foot. With a boom, he soared into the air with the purple mountain. Swoosh! Carrying the purple mountain, Su Zimo charged towards a Dharma Daojun in the distance. The Dharma Daojun's expression changed starkly. Suddenly, a phantom appeared from his body and rose rapidly. It was 60 feet tall and stood upright, emitting a powerful aura. Heaven and Earth Dharma characteristic. The strongest technique of the Dharma Daojun. Boom! The moment the Heaven and Earth Dharma characteristic was released, the purple mountain collided with it. The Heaven and Earth Dharma characteristic dissipated instantly. The body of the Dharma Daojun was also shattered by the purple mountain. Even his essence spirit could not escape, and he died on the spot. 3 Dharma Daojun were already dead. Bang! 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 Sensing the pressure, the remaining Dharma Daojun hurriedly channeled his essence spirit and released his Heaven and Earth Dharma characteristic, causing phantoms to surge into the skies one after another. Tao Lord Purple Mountain's Heaven and Earth Dharma characteristic was 86 feet tall. Dressed in purple robes, it was the most eye-catching, like a gigantic fiend celestial. Almost at the same time, many Heaven and Earth Dharma characteristics attacked in an earth-shaking manner. Bang! 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 The gigantic fists and weapons of many Heaven and Earth Dharma characteristics exploded on Su Zimo's body. However, there were no injuries on Su Zimo's body. At that moment, Qinglian's true body revealed its strength. Unless it was a peerless monster incarnate of the Dharma characteristic realm, such as Tao Lord Hatred or Monk Daming, there was no way they could injure the foundation of Qinglian's true body. Against the encirclement of many Heaven and Earth Dharma characteristics, Su Zimo relied on Qinglian's true body to push through and attacked consecutively. Another 3 Dharma Daojun died. Everyone, release your essence spirit secret skills. Tao Lord Purple Mountain's face was pale as he roared. That was his final resort. Cultivators would not use essence spirit secret skills unless necessary in a fight. But now the green-robed cultivator was invulnerable to weapons, fire and water. They had no way of attacking him, and felt a sense of helplessness. Be it their dermic arts or dermic weapons, none of them could break through his defense. Only essence spirit secret skills could ignore his physical body and kill his essence spirit directly. A series of terrifying spirit consciousness fluctuations appeared in the void. Although it was silent, it was filled with fatal killing intent. Not good. Kitsune's heart skipped a beat. The Buddha beads on her wrist was clearly her master's essence spirit dermic weapon. Now that her master's essence spirit was injured, and he did not have that essence spirit dermic weapon, how could he defend against the attacks of essence spirit secret skills? She wanted to head forward and return the Mingwang prayer beads to Su Zimo, but now the Dharma Daojun was the one attacking. Even Jinying Jinjuan, a void reversion, would find it difficult to approach a battlefield of this level, let alone a perfected being Jin Dan like her. Just the might of the battlefield alone was enough to suppress her to the point that she could not move at all. Baiming Shui could only watch on helplessly as this scene unfolded before her eyes. Master! Baiming Shui wanted to open her mouth and shout. However, the moment she opened her mouth, she realized that her voice was instantly erased by the surrounding spirit consciousness fluctuations and turned into nothingness. Sensing the descending essence spirit secret skills, Su Zimo had a mocking expression. He did not dodge, defend or counterattack. One after another, essence spirit secret skills surged into his consciousness and collided with his essence spirit. All of a sudden, a faint green mist spread out from his essence spirit with a strange power and devoured all the essence spirit secret skills. When the essence spirit secret skills entered Su Zimo's consciousness, they were devoured by the life-severing curse without causing any ripples. The life-severing curse was released by a mighty figure of the witch race, after he sacrificed his essence spirit. Even though most of it was neutralized by Qinglian's sword, the remaining power was not something that the Dharma Daojuan's essence spirit secret skills could defend against. Su Zimo was infected by the life-severing curse. This layer of curse power covered his primordial spirit, forming a curse barrier that could cut off his connection with the heavens and earth. The curse barrier had clearly strengthened after devouring the power of the essence spirit secret skills. Su Zimo furrowed his brows slightly. Previously, he had the bold idea of using a conjoint body mighty figure to break the power of the life-severing curse. But now, it seemed like that idea was impossible. The life-severing curse would only grow stronger after devouring other spirit consciousnesses, and his situation would only worsen. Chapter 1369. He's fine. Tao Lord Purple Yu's face was pale, and his eyes shone with fear. There was no way to attack. Be it dermic arts, dermic weapons or essence spirit secret skills. None of them could injure this person. Swash, swash, swash. Tao Lord Purple Yu and the other remaining Dharma Daojun used their movement techniques and fled into the distance. Standing in midair, they distanced themselves from Su Zimo and did not dare to advance rashly. All of the Dharma Daojun were already frightened and no longer had their initial arrogance and ruthlessness. Su Zimo sneered internally and did not continue chasing after them. After all, his essence spirit was damaged and he could not use dermic powers. He could not even fly through the air. Just now, he was merely relying on the burst of his physical body to fight the Dharma Daojun in melee combat. Now that the Dharma Daojun had fled far away, it would take him a lot of time and effort to chase after them. It wouldn't be long before news of today's incident spread throughout the 3 aristocratic families. At that time, a conjoint body mighty figure would be alerted, and the situation would no longer be under his control. Qinglian's true body could not use dermic powers. If a conjoint body mighty figure were to attack with their full strength, they would definitely be able to threaten him. Follow me and leave this place first. Su Zimo came to Kitsun's side and whispered. Bai Mingshui didn't say a word. She just nodded and followed him. Fufu. Right then, a chuckle sounded from the villa. Immediately after, an extremely terrifying aura spread out and descended, enveloping the entire Shimen villa. The might that the Dharma Daojun emitted just now was completely different compared to this spirit consciousness. The cultivators were shocked and could not move at all, merely widening their eyes. Even the Dharma characteristic realm was beyond the imagination and understanding of most cultivators. The arrival of this aura caused the cultivators to fall silent. They could not imagine what sort of major figure was alarmed. Not good. Nangongling's heart skipped a beat. Some low-level cultivators might not be able to tell. However, after joining 100 Refinement Sect, he had come into contact with a mighty figure of extreme fire and was extremely familiar with the aura. This was the power of the conjoint body realm. Yu Hanyun sent a voice transmission with a grim expression. Things are bad. There's a conjoint body mighty figure hidden in this villa. If Granduncle Master was not injured, and was only a conjoint body mighty figure, they would naturally not be worried. But now, his essence spirit was damaged and his combat strength was greatly reduced. Against a conjoint body mighty figure, he would most likely be doomed. Unknowingly, a thin and withered old man had already arrived in midair. No one noticed when that figure had appeared. It was as if he had been standing there the entire time. Even though this figure was small and thin, it seemed as if it had already fused into one with the heavens and the earth. It stood in the air and emanated an unparalleled aura. The crowd looked up at this figure and felt as though they were facing the entire world. Greetings, Elder Chiao. When Tao Lord Purple Yu and the others saw the old man, they were elated and the fear in their hearts dissipated as they bowed hurriedly and shouted. Elder Chiao nodded slightly and swept his gaze across the messy battlefield. Finally, his gaze landed on Su Zimo, and he said with a cold expression, Fellow Taoist, you started a massacre in the territory of the Shimen family for no reason. Now you want to turn around and leave without saying anything? For no reason? Su Zimo was expressionless. 2 void reversions of the Shimen family and Dongfang clan joined forces to kill my disciple. Isn't that a reason? That's the reason. Elder Chiu smirked with a mocking expression. Even if your disciple isn't dead, so what if we kill her? If we kill her, these people won't be the only ones to die, Su Zimo said slowly. If she dies here, everyone from Shimen Villa will have to die with her. How dare you? Insolent. What big words. The expressions of Dao Lord Purple Yu and the others changed starkly as they hollered. The Shimen family had dominated the southern region for eons, and had never been threatened as such. You've truly got guts. Killing intent surged in Elder Chiu's eyes as well. Now I'm curious. Given your capabilities, you shouldn't be a nobody. Who are you exactly? How dare you threaten the Shimen family as such? Elder Chiu was already filled with killing intent. No matter what background the green-robed cultivator claimed, he would definitely die. If the green-robed cultivator was allowed to cause a ruckus and escape unscathed, what would happen to Shimen Villa's reputation? How would they establish themselves in the cultivation world of the southern region in the future? Even if this person was a disciple of a super sect, he would have to pay with his life today. A terrifying dermic power fluctuation surged around Elder Chiu, and the entire world trembled. In the skies, lightning flashed and thunder rumbled as though the apocalypse had arrived. The cultivators below trembled in fear, and did not dare to speak. Even a vast ocean would not be able to quell the wrath of a mighty figure. Su Zimo's expression was indifferent as he looked at Elder Chiu, who was in midair, and spoke slowly with a single word. I am Araki Takashi. The moment those words were said, the air in the world froze instantly. It was as though those words possessed a powerful demonic power that caused even time to stop. After the battle at Heaven and Earth Valley, the Dao title Araki Takashi was almost a taboo for the entire cultivation world. Most conjoint body mighty figures, such as the Dharma Daojun, were not even willing to talk about it. Dao Lord Purple Yu and the others were already pale with fright, and nearly fell from midair. Suddenly, they recalled the descriptions of Araki Takashi in the cultivation world. He was dressed in green robes and had black hair, looking like a frail scholar. Many of his appearances were too similar to this person before them. The only difference was that this person looked a little sickly. Araki Takashi. It was Dao Lord Araki Takashi. Dao Lord Araki Takashi was exiled into the void by a half-martial ancestor, but he did not die. Furthermore, he had descended into the southern region. Just now, Elder Chiu was still murderous. However, his pupils constricted when he heard those words, and the dermic powers in his body dissipated instantly, like a punctured balloon. Elder Chiu felt his limbs turn cold, and he could not move anymore. Although he was unwilling to believe it, he knew very well that this person was Araki Takashi. That aura, gaze and aura, that looked down on everything was something only Dao Lord Araki Takashi was worthy of. That was a killing aura that was accumulated after killing countless paragons, monster incarnates, and Dao Lord mighty figures. Others could not imitate it even if they wanted to. After thinking through that, Elder Chiu's first reaction was to turn and flee. How many people died in the battle at Heaven and Earth Valley? Even Dao Lord mighty figures of the primordial races suffered heavy losses, let alone the conjoint body mighty figures of the immortal, Buddhist and fiend super sects. Although he was at the conjoint body realm, he was already in his later years. Given his combat strength, Araki Takashi could kill him with a single finger. Right now, it was already an immense amount of courage for him to suppress the fear in his heart and stand in midair without retreating, let alone attack Su Zimo. Chapter 1370. Let's go. Su Zimo nodded to Bai Ming Shui, then turned around and walked out of Shimen Manor. The crowd of cultivators immediately parted to form a path far away, as if they were trying to avoid something. In the blink of an eye, Su Zimo and Kitsune had already disappeared from everyone's sight. Right from the beginning, no one from the Shimen family or Dongfang aristocrat clan stood out to stop them. Even Elder Chiu, who was at the conjoint body realm, merely stood in midair with a terrible expression without saying a word. If anyone focused their attention, they would notice that Elder Chiu's hands behind his back were trembling slightly. A long time after Su Zimo left, Elder Chiu finally heaved a sigh of relief. A gentle breeze blew and unknowingly, his back was drenched in sweat. He was so scared that he broke out in cold sweat. From the moment he said those words to his departure, it had only been half an incense stick's time. However, in Elder Chiu's senses, it felt as though 100 years had passed. It was as though he had taken a trip to the gates of hell, and was already halfway there. Thank goodness, thank goodness. Panting slightly, Elder Chiu's face was pale as he lamented internally. To think that it would be Dao Lord Araki Takeshi. Who would have thought? Who would have thought? This can't be blamed on me. No. Elder Chiu gulped and thought to himself. Araki Takeshi's arrival in the southern region is too big of a matter. I have to report it to the clan master, elders and grand elders to make a decision. At that thought, Elder Chiu's figure flashed, and he transformed into a streak of light that sped into the distance, vanishing before everyone's eyes instantly. Nangong Ling and the other two heaved a sigh of relief as well. Nangong Ling came before the Kitami clan and said in a deep voice, "You guys should leave as well. This matter has huge implications. If you guys stay here, there might be other changes." Yes, yes, yes. The clan leader of the Kitami clan nodded hurriedly. Baiming Ao mustered his courage and asked softly, "Senior Nangong, did you protect us earlier because of Su Xian, Senior Araki Takeshi?" Nangong Ling nodded and did not hide anything. She said, "Araki Takeshi is our martial granduncle. Your sister is my martial aunt." Ah, Baiming Ao's mouth was agape. For a moment, he was a little confused. He couldn't figure out the relationship between the two. After all, too many things had happened today, not to mention a teenager like him. Even the Dharma Daojun, who had lived for thousands of years, was shocked by one thing after another. Nangong Ling continued, "The two perfect grade spirit artifacts you're using are our gifts to martial aunt." No wonder, no wonder. Baiming Ao murmured as the doubts in his heart were gradually resolved. He finally understood why his sister had a perfect spiritual artifact. He also finally understood why his sister was able to cultivate her martial arts to such a level in just 3 years' time. She had been reborn. That was because the frail man who had been recuperating in their house all these years was the legendary and infamous Dao Lord Araki Takeshi. Wu Dao was founded by Araki Takeshi. Who else could understand Wu Dao better than Dao Lord Araki Takeshi? At that moment, Baiming Ao's prejudice against Su Zimo vanished completely and was replaced by endless admiration. He had never seen anything as such. A single Dao title was enough to turn all the cultivators in the massive Shiman villa into mutes. Even conjoint body mighty figures who stood at the peak of the cultivation world did not dare to utter a single word upon hearing that Dao title, let alone Jining Jinjuan and Dharma Daojun. Even conjoint body mighty figures were silent out of fear that they would anger Araki Takeshi and bring about a fatal disaster. To think that the deterrence of a Dao title could reach such a level. Senior Nangong. Baiming Ao's heart skipped a beat as he thought of an opportunity for the Baiming family and could not help but ask. Since sister is Senior's martial aunt, will the Nangong family stand on her side and help our Kitami clan this time round? Nangong Ling sighed gently and did not say anything. This was also where he was in a difficult position. He could stand on the side of Granduncle Master and Kitsune, but he might not be able to convince his family to agree to this choice. If the Nangong family was involved in the feud with Granduncle Master, he would be in an awkward situation. I have to hurry back and report this to the family master as well. After saying that, Nangong Ling left with Yu Hanyan and Ru Xian. Everyone from the Nangong family retreated from Shiman Villa as well. Why are you in such a hurry? In midair, Ru Xian could not help but ask. Nangong Ling said in a deep voice, Granduncle Master's arrival in the southern region is a huge matter to begin with, and we have to report it to the family. Furthermore, there's no way we can hide the fact that Granduncle Master is injured. Yu Hanyan nodded as well. Elder Chiu of the Shiman family was merely frightened by Granduncle Master's Dao title and lost his judgment. If he reports the matter of the manor truthfully, the patriarch and elders of the Shiman family will be able to see things clearly. They will definitely notice the abnormality. Ru Xian had an anxious expression. Doesn't that mean that Granduncle Master is in danger? It's extremely possible, Yu Hanyan said. If the Shiman family and Dongfang family join forces and want to take advantage of Granduncle Master's injured essence spirit to lead their conjoint body experts over, Granduncle Master will most likely be doomed. If a half-martial ancestor attacks, Granduncle Master will have an even harder time escaping. Nangong Ling sighed with a worried expression as well. A half-martial ancestor will attack as well? Ru Xian was shocked and asked instinctively. Normally speaking, most of those who cultivated to the half-martial ancestor realm would cultivate in seclusion in their sex and strive to enter the ancestor realm. They would rarely appear. Nangong Ling said, "This matter is extraordinary. After all, it involves Granduncle Master, and there's a high chance that a half-martial ancestor expert will be alerted. What should we do?" Ru Xian was anxious. "Why don't we send a message back to the Middle Continent immediately and ask Grandmaster Extreme Fire to appear?" "It's too late," Nangong Ling shook her head. "The South region and the Middle Continent are billions of kilometers apart. Grandmaster will have to rush over even if we send a message back. How many days will it take? Furthermore, even if Grandmaster comes, he will be weak alone. He has just entered the mid-stage conjoint body realm. How many people can he defend against? I'm afraid your Nangong family is the only one who can save Granduncle Master." Yu Hanyan analyzed with a calm expression. Ru Xian nodded hurriedly as well. If the Nangong family stands on Granduncle Master's side, even if the Dongfang family and Shiman family join forces, they might not be able to hurt Granduncle Master. "It's hard to say," Nangong Ling sighed. "The three aristocratic families have always been on good terms and are united. It's unrealistic for the Nangong family to help an outsider. Furthermore, Granduncle Master's identity is special and is not tolerated by the immortal, Buddhist and fiend Daos. He's being hunted down by the primordial races. After weighing the pros and cons, it's almost impossible for the Nangong family to help Granduncle Master." Pausing for a moment, Nangong Ling took a deep breath of air. "No matter what, I have to return and give it a try. As for whether I can succeed, it'll depend on fate. I hope that Granduncle Master will be blessed by the heavens and resolve this crisis." Chapter 1371. Master, your actions this time round have severed ties with the Dongfang and Shiman aristocratic families. I'm afraid it's going to be difficult to resolve this matter. Kitsune analyzed with a worried expression. That conjoint body mighty figure was scared off by your reputation. However, the three aristocratic families have dominated the South region for a long time and have many experts in their families. As long as they gather and discuss, they might be able to discover the truth, Master. Master, you've done so much for me and I'm grateful for your kindness. However, now that a calamity is upon us, please leave first and don't bother about me, Master. Kitsune knew that given Su Zimo's current strength, even if he could not use dermic powers, it was extremely easy for him to leave this place with his powerful physique. However, if he brought her along, she would only be a perfected being Jean Dan, and it would be wishful thinking for the two of them to escape the South region. Su Zimo had a calm expression. "You don't have to worry about this. I have my own arrangements." When Kitsune heard Su Zimo say that, she did not persuade him anymore. However, Kitsune was still frowning, as though she had something else on her mind. "Are you still worried?" After the two of them walked for a while, Su Zimo asked with a smile when he saw Kitsune lowering her head, as though she was troubled. "Master, Kitsune looked at Su Zimo and hesitated. When Su Zimo saw Kitsune's strange expression, he paused in his tracks and turned to ask, "Why? Did something happen?" Kitsune took a deep breath of air. "Master, in Shiman manner, I fought with some Jinying Jinjuan of the Dongfang aristocratic family and entered Wu Dao's 9th transformation, the power of Dragon Elephant. Thereafter, I cultivated a bloodline phenomenon as well." "Yes," Su Zimo nodded. "Speaking of which, your bloodline phenomenon is truly shocking. There's a terrifying demon beast hidden in the North Sea. If I'm not wrong, there's a high chance that this demon beast is one of the primordial 9 races, the Kuan race. Kitsune's expression was slightly dazed as she said, "I'm not sure either, but the moment the bloodline phenomenon erupted, I faintly felt that something in Biming Town seemed to be summoning me." Suzimo's heart skipped a beat as he narrowed his eyes in deep thought. "Do you still have this feeling?" Suzimo asked. "Yes." Kitsune nodded. "Go. Let's go take a look at Biming Town," Suzimo said and sped up with Kitsune towards Biming Town. It didn't take long for them to return to Biming Town. "How is it?" Suzimo asked. Kitsune closed her eyes and sensed for a while before nodding. "It should be here, but I'm not sure what it is exactly. What's so special about Biming Town?" Suzimo looked at the town and asked. Kitsune laughed bitterly. "Nothing much. Over the years, Biming Town has been searched thoroughly by the cultivators of the three aristocratic families. Even the rocks that were passed down from the ancient times were taken away by the cultivators of the three aristocratic families, let alone any treasures or secret skills." "What about the ancestral hall?" Suzimo asked again. Under normal circumstances, the ancestral hall was the most important place for a family, and there might be some secrets hidden there. Kitsune shook her head. "The ancestral hall has been torn down by the three aristocratic families multiple times over the years. This ancestral hall was built by the later generations, and there can't be anything special about it." After pausing for a moment, Kitsune continued, "If there's truly something special, this town is the origin of the Kitami clan, and can be considered as their final homeland." Suzimo fell into deep thought. After a moment, Kitsune could not help but ask, "Master, are you guessing that this feeling of mine has something to do with the secret guarded by the Biming family?" "It's extremely possible." Suzimo nodded and did not hide his thoughts. Kitsune shook her head. "However, if there's really any secret in Biming Town, it would have been discovered over the years. The Kitami clan has been passed down for generations, and there are millions of clansmen. Why am I the only one who has this strange feeling?" When he heard that question, Suzimo's eyes lit up and he blurted out, "Bloodline." "What?" Kitsune asked instinctively, not understanding for a moment. Suzimo said in a deep voice, "You've said before that the cultivation techniques and treasures of the Biming family have been divided up by the three aristocratic families, and they are declining day by day. Without any cultivation resources, and being restricted to this small place by the three aristocratic families, they are unable to travel outside. Therefore, no powerful cultivators have been born over the years. Up till now, the person with the highest cultivation in the Biming family is only Jining Jinjuan." Kitsune said, "However, my cultivation is only at the Jindan realm, and I'm inferior to my predecessors." "You're different from them," Suzimo said. "You've cultivated a bloodline phenomenon." Kitsune opened her mouth slightly and gradually understood. Suzimo said, "The fact that you've cultivated a bloodline phenomenon means that you've awakened a certain power in your bloodline. That's why you're able to sense Biming Town." Biming Shue's heart began to thump wildly. She could vaguely sense that there was a high chance that the final veil of the secret guarded by the Biming family was about to be unveiled. But what is the secret, and how are we supposed to find it?" Kitsune felt her mouth go dry and asked, "Bloodline," Suzimo said in a deep voice. "Perhaps your bloodline is the key to it." Without hesitation, Kitsune flicked out her sharp fingernails and slit her wrist gently. Instantly, a bloody scar appeared on her wrist. Given Kitsune's current physique, even Khanate spirit weapons would not be able to hurt her. They were not even as sharp as her fingernails. Scarlet blood flowed out and dripped onto the ground beneath her feet. The blood seeped into the ground and vanished. There was a long silence. A look of disappointment flashed through Kitsune's eyes. All of a sudden, the ground quaked. Immediately after, an extremely terrifying aura burst forth, and the entire Biming Town quaked violently while the ground quaked. Many clansmen of Biming Town shrieked and fled in all directions. Buzz! 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 One after another, beams of light burst forth from the depths of the ground, illuminating the void. "It's an ancient seal." Suzimo narrowed his eyes at the light and exclaimed softly, "Who would have thought that there would be an ancient restriction buried beneath Biming Town? The key to activating it was actually the Biming bloodline." However, the prerequisite was that a clansman of the Kitami clan had to be able to cultivate a bloodline phenomenon and awaken the true power of the Kitami clan bloodline. Suzimo lamented when he saw that. Throughout history, the three aristocratic families had never given up on searching for the secret of the Kitami clan. However, under the oppression of the three aristocratic families, the Kitami clan had difficulties in cultivation. It was already considered rare for them to be able to cultivate a gene dam phenomenon, let alone a bloodline phenomenon. That was the reason why the secret of the Kitami clan was buried for so long without being discovered. The three aristocratic families racked their brains and resorted to unscrupulous means. However, they had never expected that the secret would be destroyed by them. If not for the fact that Suzimo had come to Baiming Town to sever his karma and wanted to take in a disciple to impart his Tao to Kitsune, it was likely that the Baiming clan's secret would remain buried forever. Chapter 1372. Not long after, the rays of light gradually disappeared. Baiming Town had changed drastically as well. The massive town had almost disappeared, and a gigantic pit appeared on the ground. It was dark and deep inside and no one knew where it led to. Suzimo said, "Let's go and take a look. The secret that the Baiming family is guarding should be below." "Yes," Kitsune nodded. Worried that there would be danger, Suzimo walked at the front with Kitsune following behind him. Some of the Kitami clan members lingered around the pit fearfully, not daring to enter. After about half an instant's time, Suzimo and Kitsune arrived at the bottom of the pit. It was clear that someone had built this place meticulously. Stone steps were paved beneath their feet, and the surroundings were filled with ancient rocks that were filled with the aura of time. At the bottom was a long tunnel. Suzimo relied on Qinglian's true body and continued forward with Kitsune. The longer they walked, the more humid the air ahead became. Furthermore, Suzimo could clearly sense that the air ahead was filled with exuberant vitality and rich spirit qi. Before long, Suzimo's ears twitched, and he could vaguely hear the sound of flowing water. "There's a hidden river underground." Suzimo frowned slightly and shook his head in denial. The sound of flowing water was not loud and did not seem like an underground river. Suzimo continued forward with Kitsune. After walking for a long time, their vision opened up and the two of them arrived at an extremely vast hall. The two of them looked over. On both sides of the hall stood 9 stone statues that were 30 feet tall. Each of them wielded a different weapon in their hands and were dignified. All of them had their eyes closed and were covered in dust. At the end of the stone statues on both sides was a gigantic pool surrounded by jade sculptures. Golden water surged within and emitted an extremely rich aura of life. Suzimo was shocked and exclaimed, "The primordial divine spring." "Ah!" Kitsune also exclaimed. She had only heard Suzimo mention it before, but she did not expect a primordial divine spring to be buried beneath Baiming Town. Suzimo was shocked. This primordial divine spring was clearly different from the one beneath Gu sect. There was no source under Gu sect, it was stagnant water. And at the center of this pool, golden bubbles were constantly bubbling. Clearly, there was a spring at the bottom that was continuously gushing out divine spring water. This was a primordial divine spring that was comparable to the Dragon Bone Valley. Suzimo had once speculated about the secrets of the Baiming family out of curiosity. But who would have thought that when this secret was revealed, it would be so shocking? One had to know that a single primordial divine spring was enough to attract the covetous eyes of various major powers and super sections. With this primordial divine spring, the Baiming family could attract countless experts and even nurture many geniuses. It was highly possible for them to regain the glory of the ancient era. The primordial divine spring was too precious. Up till now, the only place Suzimo knew of was the Dragon Bone Valley. Buzz! Just as Suzimo was pondering, beams of light burst forth from the main hall. The 18 stone statues opened their eyes one after another and shook off the dust on their bodies. They came to life with sinister killing intent in their eyes. "Trespassers of the Baiming Kingdom will be killed without mercy." The 18 stone statues spoke at the same time. Swoosh! The stone statue at the front raised its gigantic sword and slashed down at Suzimo. Su Zimo was shocked when he suddenly caught sight of the primordial divine spring. While he was momentarily distracted, the gigantic sword had already descended. There was no time to dodge, and he could only reach out, wanting to grab the gigantic sword. Boom! The gigantic sword collided with Su Zimo's palm with a deafening bang. Su Zimo shuddered as though he was struck by lightning. He was sent flying dozens of feet away by the gigantic sword, and a bloody wound appeared on his palm. Psst! Su Zimo took in a breath of cold air. The strength of this stone statue was way too strong. It was definitely at the conjoint body realm. The gigantic sword in the hands of the stone statue did not seem to be a dermic weapon. However, the fact that it could injure Qingmian's true body was proof of its might. Could these conjoint body mighty figures of the ancient era have lived to this era? Su Zimo was shocked. However, on second thought he shook his head. That's not right. Even Mahayana patriarchs only have a lifespan of 100,000 years. These stone statues can't be humans. Puppets. A thought flashed through Su Zimo's mind as he came to a realization. They must be puppets. Only puppet stone statues could ignore time and pass down their legacies from the ancient era until now. Swash! Another stone statue took a huge step forward and arrived before Su Zimo in the blink of an eye. Swinging its arm, it raised its saber and slashed. Su Zimo could only raise his arm to defend. Boom! When the saber struck his arm, his entire arm was numb, and he could barely feel it. Su Zimo's figure was sent flying once more and slammed into the wall behind him before sliding down. These stone statues are way too ruthless. Su Zimo was secretly speechless. Although the stone statues were lifeless, the power they released was comparable to conjoint body mighty figures. If Su Zimo's essence spirit was fine, and he could use dermic powers, he naturally had countless methods to slice the stone statues into pieces. But now his essence spirit was damaged and his combat strength was greatly reduced. Facing this group of stone puppets, he was actually somewhat helpless. It was quite thoughtful of the Baiming family to arrange for 18 such powerful stone statues to guard the primordial divine spring and prevent it from being taken over by outsiders. However, Su Zimo lamented internally. 2 stone statues were already able to beat him to such a state. How could he survive when 18 stone statues surrounded him at the same time? He had dominated his entire life and killed countless paragons and monster incarnates. He had never tasted defeat against anyone of the same cultivation realm, and was not even afraid of the primordial 9 races. Was he going to be killed by these lifeless stones? If news of this were to spread, he would definitely become the greatest joke of the cultivation world. The dignified Tao Lord Araki Takeshi, the #1 monster incarnate of history, was hammered to death by a group of stone statues that were passed down from the ancient era. Master, watch out! Kitsune reacted and exclaimed, pouncing over with all her might to shield Su Zimo. Don't, Su Zimo said hurriedly. Qingmian's true body was already beaten to such a state by the stone statues. If those gigantic swords and sabers slashed down, Kitsune would not be able to survive even if she had 10 lives. Kitsune closed her eyes and spread her arms in front of Su Zimo. Coincidentally, a gigantic axe slashed down. Just as it was about to land on Kitsune's head, it suddenly shifted and avoided Kitsune's body, slamming into the ground with a bang. The other stone statues circled around Kitsune and charged towards Su Zimo once more. Those stone statues won't hurt anyone from the Kitami clan. When they saw that, Su Zimo and Kitsune thought of that possibility at the same time. Kitsune could only protect Su Zimo and retreat continuously. However, she was alone. How could she protect Su Zimo completely? In a moment of desperation, Kitsune shouted, "Stop right there!" Strangely enough, the stone statues froze on the spot when they heard that and stopped attacking. Chapter 1373. Why are these things so obedient? Su Zimo was shocked. But soon, he understood what had happened. That's right, you've awakened the power in your bloodline. Even if the owner of this place is recognized by the ancestors of the Kitami clan, these stone puppets were left behind by these stone puppets. These stone puppets were left behind by the ancestors of your Baiming clan. Naturally, They will obey your orders when they sense your bloodline aura. At that point, Kitsune seemed to have understood as well. Stand there and don't move. This is my master. You're not allowed to hurt him, Kitsune said to the 18 stone puppets opposite her. The 18 stone puppets closed their eyes one after another. The divine light in their eyes faded rapidly, and they fell silent once more. Kitsune hurriedly helped Suzimo up. I'm fine. Suzimo shook his head. Although he was struck by the stone puppets a few times, his foundation was not injured, and they were all superficial wounds. Kitsune said, Master, you once said that the primordial divine spring can heal the injuries of your essence spirit. Hurry and go. I'll guard here with these stone puppets, and not let anyone disturb you. All right. Suzimo pondered for a moment and did not decline. Walking towards the primordial divine spring, Suzimo lamented. It was because of Kitsune that he was able to escape from the endless void. Later on, when he saw Kitsune's many encounters, he wanted to take her in as a disciple, and stayed in Biming Town for 3 whole years. For 3 years, the life-severing curse had been pestering him, and he was in extreme pain. However, he did not leave just to sever this karma. To think that it was this action that gave him a chance to repair his essence spirit. Now that he thought about it, if he had left early to search for the primordial divine spring in order to heal his injuries, he might not have any results even after 30 or 300 years, let alone 3 years. Everything in the world was the most mysterious. This was the so-called karma. In the blink of an eye, Suzimo had already arrived beside the pool. He had once learned about the existence of the primordial divine spring from the true bodies of the dragons. However, when he saw it with his own eyes, he still could not conceal the shock on his face. This holy spring was simply the most miraculous spiritual item in the world. Just by standing by the pool, Suzimo took a deep breath and felt his body brimming with vitality. Even his essence soul seemed to feel better. He no longer hesitated and leaped into the golden pool. Lying flat on his back, he gradually sank into the water. Boundless life force flowed into his body through his pores. Streams of life essence flowed into his sea of consciousness, cleansing his primordial spirit. Being enveloped by the dense vitality, it felt warm and comfortable. Qinglian's real body was itchy and numb, as if countless ants were crawling in her flesh and organs. Suzimo's body sank into the pool, and he bumped into a gigantic rock beneath him, causing him to stumble. He did not know if it was because he crashed into it or something else, but the round rock rolled to the side, and Suzimo sank to the bottom of the pool successfully. At that moment, the primordial divine spring was cleansing Qinglian's body, bloodline, bones, organs, and even her essence spirit. Suzimo did not mind that he was tripped by a rock in the pool. For Suzimo, obtaining the nourishment of the primordial divine spring was not only a matter of healing his essence spirit and recovering his cultivation realm. Qinglian's true body was undergoing a tremendous change from the inside out as well. Something black was seeping out of his pores, like dirt and impurities. His bones were created with the lotus stem as the foundation, and were supplemented by the treasures of many supersections. Initially they were greenish-gold in color. Under the cleansing of the primordial divine spring, the greenish-gold bones gradually began to change. They became increasingly translucent and crystalline like jade. The jade-green color gradually deepened, while the dark gold color gradually receded. The black impurities that were washed away by the primordial divine spring were none other than the treasures that Suzimo had refined to create his bones. Those treasures were originally the destiny dermic weapons of the titular disciples, and were extremely powerful. But now, Qinglian's true body treated those melted treasures as impurities, and expelled them from her body. The aura of every single bone in Qinglian's true body turned purer and greener, resembling a real lotus stem. The transformation of her bones and her bloodline were undergoing a qualitative change as well. Splash! Her bone marrow flowed, and let out a series of strange sounds. As her bones increased, and her marrow was continuously replaced with blood, the bloodline that was derived from it also became stronger. In her consciousness, under the nourishment of the primordial divine spring, the creation lotus platform burst forth with rays of light that cleansed the black-haired essence spirit continuously. Curses were the most evil. However, even they could not defend against the power of the primordial divine spring. In her consciousness, there were thousands of streaks of light and auspicious colors. The green mist that shrouded the black-haired essence spirit gradually melted, and the power of the curse dissipated. Qingwian's true body emitted a boundless life force from the inside out that was increasingly exuberant. The Shiman family, there were more than 10 experts seated in the meeting hall. Every single one of them was a conjoint body mighty figure, and the atmosphere was grim. The fact that more than 10 conjoint body mighty figures were alarmed at once was proof of the severity of this matter. The person in the middle looked like he was only middle-aged, but he had already cultivated to the late-stage conjoint body realm. His gaze was bright, and he exuded the might of someone who had been in power for a long time. It was the family master of the Shiman family. Elder Chiyo stood in the middle of the hall. Araki Takashi has arrived in the southern region and is in a head-on conflict with our Shiman and Dongfang families. Everyone, what do you think? The Shiman family master was calm and took a sip of tea before saying slowly, "To think that Dao Lord Araki Takashi would be so lucky to be able to return alive after being exiled into the void by D. Fan. Araki Takashi is a jinx. No matter where he goes, it won't be peaceful. Araki Takashi has made a name for himself in the North region and Middle Continent. However, isn't he being way too arrogant for wanting to challenge our two aristocratic families in the southern region?" An old man said slowly, "In my opinion, this matter cannot be tolerated. We should kill Araki Takashi to prevent future trouble." Elder Mirror Moon, that's inappropriate, Elder Chiyo frowned. Although Araki Takashi is the Dharma Daojun, how many conjoint body experts died in the battle at Heaven and Earth Valley? The entire cultivation world is shaken. Now that Araki Takashi has returned, he must be extremely domineering. In my opinion, it's not appropriate to make him an enemy. Fufu. Elder Mirror Moon smiled gently. Elder Chiyo, you're old and your mind doesn't seem to be as sharp. Based on what you said, I'm certain that Araki Takashi is injured. What do you mean? Elder Chiyo frowned. Elder Mirror Moon said unhurriedly, according to your description, from the moment Araki Takashi attacked until the end, he did not use any dermic arts and only relied on his physical body to fight. That's right. However, what's wrong with that? Everyone knows that Araki Takashi's physique is strong, and his melee combat strength is extraordinary, Elder Chiyo argued. Elder Mirror Moon shook her head. It would be fine if he merely did not use any dermic arts. However, Araki Takashi did not even use any dermic weapons, essence spirit secret skills, or even flight. How can there not be anything strange about that? Elder Chiyo frowned in deep thought. Chapter 1374. Elder Chiyo was a conjoint body mighty figure after all, and had lived for more than 10,000 years. At that moment he calmed down and gradually came to his senses. Elder Mirror Moon said, "My guess is that there's a high chance that Araki Takashi's essence spirit is injured and can't communicate with heaven and earth. He can't even release the most basic dermic arts. Is it that serious? Could Araki Takashi be hiding his strength?" The other conjoint body mighty figures discussed as well. Elder Chiyo remained silent with a terrible expression. Actually, he knew in his heart that Elder Mirror Moon's guess was most likely true. This meant that he was scared away by Araki Takashi. At the thought of that, he was naturally displeased and had a hateful expression. The head of the Shiman family did not say anything the entire time. It was only at this moment that he put down his teacup and said indifferently, "Elder Mirror Moon's guess shouldn't be wrong." In the Battle of Heaven and Earth Valley, a mighty figure of the witch race self-destructed his essence spirit to release a life-severing curse in an attempt to kill Su Zimo. Although he did not succeed, I'm sure that given Su Zimo's cultivation, there's no way he can remain unscathed against the power of the life-severing curse. At that point, everyone present no longer had any doubts. With all the information and signs combined, it was almost certain that Araki Takashi's essence spirit was injured. Furthermore, it was not light. Brother Shiman is wise. Right then, a chuckle sounded from outside the door. A cultivator with fluttering robes walked in. Nobody present had noticed his existence previously. Greetings, Dongfang family master. The conjoint body mighty figures in the hall stood up one after another and bowed to the person. That cultivator was the family master of the Dongfang family. Brother Dongfang, you're here too. The head of the Shiman family stood up and nodded with a smile inviting. Please take a seat. The head of the Dongfang family sat down beside the head of the Shiman family and went straight to the point. I won't beat around the bush. The reason why I'm here is because of Araki Takashi. What do you have in mind, Brother Dongfang? The head of the Shiman family asked. The head of the Dongfang family smirked with a cold expression and said a single word. Kill. As soon as the words were spoken, the temperature in the hall dropped significantly. A murderous aura lingered in the air, and a bone-piercing chill could be felt. The head of the Shiman family smiled and said, Araki Takashi has been famous for a long time. He is quite troublesome. This matter should be discussed at length, Brother Shiman. The head of the Dongfang family interrupted. You have also guessed that Araki Takashi's primordial spirit is injured, and his combat power is greatly reduced. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Any one of our conjoint body mighty figures can suppress it. If you're worried that an accident might happen, the experts in the hall can go together. More than 10 conjoint body mighty figures of the Dongfang family are waiting outside and can take action at any time. Patriarch Shiman smacked his lips. This Dao Lord Araki Takashi has an injured primordial spirit. He'll be easy to deal with. I'm more worried about the other Araki Takashi. The other one. The head of the Dongfang family frowned slightly. Patriarch Shiman said solemnly, the Battle of Heaven and Earth Valley shocked the entire Tianhuang region. Araki Takashi has 2 true bodies, and there is only one in the southern region. Don't forget, he has another true body of dragons. At the mention of the true bodies of the dragons, many conjoint body experts in the hall looked wary. Although the cultivators of the 3 aristocratic families did not head to Heaven and Earth Valley, everyone was still extremely shocked when they heard the details of that battle. It was said that Araki Takashi's dragon's clone was even more terrifying. Even many conjoint body experts of the primordial races were killed by the true bodies of the dragons. The head of the Dongfang family frowned. The true bodies of the dragons have already been banished into the void. How can they still be alive? That's hard to say, Patriarch Shiman said. Since Araki Takashi's true body survived, there's no guarantee that the true body of the dragons is still alive as well. If we can't kill both of Araki Takashi's true bodies completely, we'll be in huge trouble for our family. If it was only Qinglian's true body, the head of the Shiman family would naturally not be afraid and could kill her. However, he was wary of Araki Takashi's true bodies of the dragons. In that case, Brother Shiman, you don't intend to attack? The head of the Dongfang family asked. The head of the Shiman family shook his head. We have to consider this matter at length. Let's wait and see first. Actually, the head of the Shiman family had other plans in mind. In his opinion, Araki Takashi had offended way too many sects and factions. As long as they spread the news of Araki Takashi's whereabouts, experts of the super sects would naturally come looking for them, without them having to do anything. In fact, the primordial races might even be alarmed. This was a borrowed knife to kill. The Shiman family was not willing to provoke a huge problem like Araki Takashi. Right then there was a commotion outside the door. A cultivator sped over with fluttering robes. He looked like he was in a hurry. Report. Before the cultivator arrived, he shouted from afar. Before long, the cultivator arrived in the hall with an excited expression and shouted. Reporting to the family head. There's news from Baiming Town. There's an ancient restriction hidden in Baiming Town that was activated by Kitsune. Right now, a passageway that leads underground has appeared in Baiming Town and there might be. At that point, the cultivator paused for a moment, as though he could not believe it. What? The heads of the Shiman and Dongfang families asked at the same time. Both of them had already thought of a possibility. The secret guarded by the Baiming family had already appeared. There's a high chance it's the primordial divine spring. The cultivator said. Psst. A series of gasps could be heard in the hall. The heads of the Shiman and Dongfang families stood up one after another with shocked expressions. The head of the Shiman family asked, Is that true? The cultivator replied. A member of the Kitami clan mustered the courage to take a look and said that there's a golden pool. Indeed, the two family heads exchanged glances and could see the excitement and greed in each other's eyes. I didn't expect this, the head of the Shiman family sighed. There's a rumor in the ancient times that the Baiming family has always been guarding a massive secret. To think that it's the primordial divine spring. The divine spring has appeared in this generation. Unfortunately, the Kitami clan has already declined. The head of the Dongfang family smiled coldly with a cold expression. The head of the Shiman family took a deep breath of air and said in a deep voice, "Everyone in the hall, follow me to Baiming town to obtain the divine spring. Kill anyone who dares to stop us." Initially, he was wary of Araki Takashi's true bodies of dragons. But now that he heard about the primordial divine spring, he had to snatch the divine spring, even if he knew that the true bodies of the dragons were still alive. The primordial divine spring was worth the risk for the Shiman family. Furthermore, there was a high chance that Araki Takashi's true bodies of dragons were already dead. At the same time, the head of the Shiman family sent a voice transmission to a conjoint body mighty figure and instructed him. The conjoint body mighty figure retreated secretly. "Brother Shiman, I'm afraid your Shiman family won't be able to take down the divine spring." The head of the Dongfang family smiled gently. "Of course. At that time, our two aristocratic families can discuss how to split it equally." As for the Nangong family, the head of the Shiman family paused for a moment. "That will depend on the choice of the Nangong family. If they stand on our side, they might still have a share of the divine spring. If..." The head of the Dongfang family did not continue, but his meaning was clear. Chapter 1375. Nangong Family. In the discussion hall, the head of the Nangong family sat in the middle. Apart from many conjoint body mighty figures, there was also a void reversion Nangong Ling. Under normal circumstances, given Nangong Ling's cultivation realm, she was not qualified to participate in such an occasion. However, the matter of discussion at this moment was special. It concerned Dao Lord Araki Takashi. In the entire Nangong family, Nangong Ling was probably the only one who knew Dao Lord Araki Takashi the best. "Everyone please speak," the head of the Nangong family said slowly. "Since Araki Takashi is not dead and he still lingers granduncle master, our Nangong family should stay out of this matter. However, we just received news that the primordial divine spring might have been discovered in Baiming town. The Dongfang and Shiman aristocratic families have already made a move. This matter is worth discussing." A middle-aged burly man stood up with a ferocious expression and shouted, "Family head, what are you hesitating for? We must definitely make a move to fight for the primordial divine spring." "That's right," another person said. "The primordial divine spring is way too precious and is the rarest treasure in the world. If our family can obtain the help of the divine spring, our overall strength will at least double. However, the primordial divine spring is a treasure guarded by the Baiming family. If we snatch it..." Another person hesitated. "What's there to be afraid of?" The first middle-aged burly man pouted his lips. "The Kitami clan has long declined. The primordial divine spring is equivalent to an ownerless item. Don't forget about Araki Takashi," that person reminded. "Araki Takashi is Kitsune's master. If we want to fight for the divine spring, we'll definitely have to become enemies with Araki Takashi." "So what if he's Dao Lord Araki Takashi? His essence spirit is damaged and his combat strength is greatly reduced. What's there to be afraid of?" The middle-aged burly man scoffed. However, the whereabouts of Dao Lord Araki Takashi and one of the dragon's true bodies are unknown. It is said that this true body of the dragons is even more powerful. If we become enemies with Araki Takashi because of this and incur the wrath of the true body of the dragons, wouldn't it be a bit of a loss? It's been so many years. There's no news about the true bodies of dragons. They're floating in the endless void. They've long been washed away. Even if the true bodies of the dragons are still alive, with the various super sects and primordial races in front of them, we won't have a chance. Everyone argued endlessly in the great hall, sticking to their own opinions. After a long while, The Nangong family head slowly raised his hand and pressed down. The hall gradually quieted down. Nangong Ling, what do you think? Nangong family head asked. Nangong Ling stood at the end of the hall, unable to say anything. After all, the experts in the hall were all his seniors, and even his ancestors' ancestors and ancestors. Without the family head asking, he couldn't take the initiative to interrupt. It was only at this moment that Nangong Ling stood out and said in a deep voice, "Family head, I don't recommend making an enemy out of Dao Lord Araki Takashi. Why? Are the three aristocratic families afraid of a Dharma Daojun, even if we join forces?" The middle-aged burly man sneered. Nangong Ling, don't side with Araki Takashi just because he's your granduncle master. Don't forget your surname and bloodline. Nangong Ling was not annoyed against the middle-aged burly man's reprimand, and merely shook his head. Dao Lord Araki Takashi is different from the other Dharma Daojun. What's so different about him? He merely has 3 supreme Dharma characteristics. The middle-aged burly man was still disdainful. Furthermore, his essence spirit is damaged. He can't even release the most basic dharmic arts, let alone heaven and earth Dharma characteristics. Without witnessing it personally, it's hard to imagine how terrifying Dao Lord Araki Takashi is. Nangong Ling said, "How tragic was the battle in Heaven and Earth Valley? Isn't that lesson enough?" Pausing for a moment, Nangong Ling continued. "Furthermore, I want to remind all the elders that since there's a primordial divine spring, there's a high chance that Dao Lord Araki Takashi's injuries will recover. At that time, even conjoint body mighty figures might not be able to suppress him." Suddenly the hall fell silent. Many conjoint body mighty figures revealed wary expressions. The middle-aged burly man clenched his fists and said coldly, "What's there to be afraid of? At most, we'll invite the half-martial ancestor of our clan. Even if Araki Takashi recovers, we'll be able to kill him." "What if Dao Lord Araki Takashi enters the conjoint body realm?" Nangong Ling asked again. "That's impossible." The middle-aged burly man waved his hand. "How long has it been since Araki Takashi entered the Dharma characteristic realm? 100 years? He's dreaming if he wants to enter the conjoint body realm right now. Furthermore, at the conjoint body realm, one has to fuse their heaven and earth Dharma characteristics into their bodies. Araki Takashi has 3 supreme Dharma characteristics. Although he's incomparably strong and can sweep through any one of the same cultivation realm, fortune and misfortune are interdependent. If he wants to fuse 3 supreme Dharma characteristics into his body won't be able to withstand it and will explode. It was not a smooth journey for cultivators to enter the conjoint body realm without danger. The stronger the heaven and earth Dharma characteristic, the greater the danger of fusing it into one's body. However, Su Zimo had 3 supreme Dharma characteristics. This was unprecedented in history. Actually, the cultivators in the hall did not know that in the current generation, there was a person who had successfully fused 4 supreme Dharma characteristics into his body. As for that person, he was far-sighted and had a flawless plan. His boldness was shocking, and he schemed against all the experts in the world. Furthermore, he was the one who benefited the most from the battle at Heaven and Earth Valley. The Nangong family master nodded as well. With the help of the primordial divine spring, it's possible for Araki Takashi to recover from his injuries. However, it's impossible for him to enter the conjoint body realm. The middle-aged burly man said, "Family master, give the order. If we attack now, we can still get a share of the loot. If we're late and the divine spring is controlled by the Dongfang and Shimin aristocratic families, it'll be too difficult for us to fight for it." The Nangong family master frowned and was still hesitant. "Why is it so lively?" Right at this moment, an aged voice sounded from outside the hall. An old man with a dragon-headed walking stick walked in stealthily. He looked like he had one foot in the grave and could die at any moment. "Greetings, Grand Elder." Everyone in the hall stood up one after another and bowed with respectful expressions. Even the Nangong family master walked down from the main seat and said softly, "Elder Lan Tian, you're here." Those who could be grand elders of the 3 aristocratic families were all half-martial ancestors. Although Elder Lan Tian looked like he was at the end of his life and his blood chi was waning. In reality, he had already lived for 20,000 years. Everyone knew that the lifespan of a conjoint body mighty figure was 20,000 years. Strictly speaking, even half-martial ancestors were still at the conjoint body realm, and had not truly entered the Mahayana realm. However, it was possible for one to live for 20,000 years after becoming a half-martial ancestor. With Elder Lon Tian around, there's nothing for us to be afraid of even if Araki Takashi recovers from his injuries. The middle-aged burly man said loudly with a delighted expression. Hee hee. Elder Lon Tian leaned on his walking stick and chuckled, saying slowly, Nangong family, let's hold back first and wait and see. Grand Elder. The middle-aged burly man could not help but say, if the Dongfang and Shimin aristocratic families get ahead of us, our Nangong family might never have a chance to obtain the primordial divine spring. There's no need to argue about this. I'll make my own decision. Elder Lon Tian said indifferently. There were no more objections in the hall. Even the Nangong family master could not disobey the orders of a half-martial ancestor. Chapter 1376. Biming Town. Some of the Biming Town tribesmen could not hold back their curiosity and walked down the stone steps. However, they were stopped by Kitsune when they reached the entrance of the hall. You guys can't enter for now. Disperse. Kitsune looked at the Kitami clan tribesmen and said in a deep voice, why can't we enter? We're Kitami clan tribesmen as well. That's right. This place must contain the secrets of the Kitami clan. Kitsune, what right do you have to occupy it for yourself? Some of the Kitami clan tribesmen stood at the entrance and argued, pushing and shoving as they tried to barge into the hall. Kitsune's expression turned cold. In a flash, she arrived at the entrance of the hall in the blink of an eye, and sent the cultivator at the front flying back with a punch. The cultivator was sent flying, and crashed into the cultivator behind him, falling into a ball and screaming in pain. Get lost, Kitsune said coldly. This is because we're both tribesmen. Otherwise, just now, I would have taken your life with a single punch. Even though Biming Shui was a woman, she was still a decisive person. Otherwise, she would not have dared to cripple Dongfang Ji in front of the experts of the two aristocratic families in Shimin Manor. Su Zimo was recuperating in the primordial divine spring, and she would not allow anyone to barge in and disturb Su Zimo. Furthermore, news of such a huge commotion in Biming Town must have reached the three aristocratic families. After a while, there was no guarantee that no experts would come. The Kitami clan tribesmen would be sending themselves to their deaths if they stayed here. Sister, Biming Ao and the others had already rushed back from Shimin Manor. Little brother, leave this place with your tribesmen first, Kitsune said in a deep voice. All right, Biming Ao nodded. He had complete trust in his sister. Furthermore, there was a top-notch figure standing behind her. As long as that person was alive, his sister would not be in danger. Before long, Biming Ao led the Kitami clan tribesmen out of Biming Town. Kitsune stood guard at the entrance of the hall, and turned to look in the direction of the primordial divine spring with a worried expression. It's been so long and there's still no movement. I wonder how Master's Yuan spirit is doing, and if it has recovered. I'm afraid there's not much time left, Kitsune thought to herself. In the pool, Su Zimo remained motionless, but Qinglian's true body was undergoing earth-shaking changes. At this time, the impurities in Qinglian's true body had almost been expelled. Every bone in Qinglian's real body was green and translucent like jade, emitting a multicolored light. Her bone marrow rattled as it generated powerful blood vessels and modified her internal organs. Even the treasures of the super sex were expelled from her body as impurities. How powerful was Qinglian's real body? Within his sea of consciousness, tens of thousands of rays of multicolored light and thousands of strands of auspicious colors were present. The lotus platform of good fortune was bursting with vitality, as the aura of primal chaos pervaded the air. The black-haired essence spirit sat upright on it, and the life-severing curse on her body had already vanished completely. Just as Su Zimo had expected, the danger of the life-severing curse was resolved with the help of the primordial divine spring. As for him, He was experiencing another opportunity. Nourished by the primordial divine spring, the creation lotus platform, and Qinglian's true body, formed an extremely mysterious connection. It was as though the bloodlines of the lotus roots were fused together and were indistinguishable from each other. The lotus platform was in the consciousness. The lotus leaves were the skin. The lotus stems were the bones. At that moment, Su Zimo felt that his body had already disappeared. It was as though he had transformed into a Qinglian that was swaying in the primordial divine spring. If Kitsune turned back to look, she would be shocked to discover something. Lotus leaves floated on the surface of the golden pool. A lotus flower was growing on the lotus leaves. However, it had yet to bloom, and was only a bud. It was pink and translucent like jade. Under the nourishment of the primordial divine spring, the lotus flower bud swayed gently and emitted a tremendous life force. Although his essence spirit had recovered, Su Zimo did not get up. He intended to make use of this opportunity to attempt to break through to the conjoint body realm. Under normal circumstances, it would be extremely dangerous to fuse 3 supreme Dharma characteristics. Even Qinglian's true body would not be able to withstand it. However, with the primordial divine spring around, the chances of success were much higher. This was a rare opportunity, and Su Zimo did not want to miss it. Swoosh! The first supreme Dharma characteristic appeared. Thunderdermic body. The thunderdermic body was like a god of thunder, wielding a whip that flashed with lightning. With dark clouds above its head, it stepped on a sea of thunder, with a dignified expression. With his massive spirit consciousness, Su Zimo fused the heaven and earth Dharma characteristic into his body. Ugh! Su Zimo grunted with a pained expression. How strong was a supreme Dharma characteristic? It could even kill ordinary conjoint body mighty figures. Fusing such a terrifying power into one's physical body would be a huge burden to the body. Even Qinglian's true body could not withstand it. Poof! 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 Instantly, wounds appeared on the skin of Qinglian's true body, and Su Zimo turned into a bloody man instantly as blood flowed out and surged into the pool. However, under the nourishment of the primordial divine spring's immense life force, the wounds on Qinglian's true body healed rapidly. However, the power of the supreme Dharma characteristic was way too strong, and the moment the wounds healed, they ruptured once more. The entire golden pool was dyed red. Right then, an oval-shaped boulder in the depths of the pool suddenly moved, as though it was extremely excited. It circled Su Zimo's body continuously. Strangely enough, after the boulder circled a few times, the blood around Su Zimo vanished and turned back into the golden divine spring. Now that there was no more blood in the pool, the huge rock seemed to be dissatisfied, and it kept spinning around. From time to time, it would even bump into Su Zimo. However, Su Zimo was in immense pain and was oblivious to the changes in the pool. An unknown period of time passed. It was only then that Su Zimo gradually regained his senses. It was way too scary. A single supreme Dharma characteristic was already so dangerous, and this was even under the nourishment of the primordial divine spring. It was almost certain that if not for the primordial divine spring, Su Zimo would definitely explode and die if he forcefully fused 3 supreme Dharma characteristics. At that thought, a figure flashed through Su Zimo's mind. 3 supreme Dharma characteristics are already so dangerous. What will happen if there are 4? Even though Su Zimo had already cultivated to this point, that person was even more unfathomable in his heart. Right then, something seemed to have bumped into him in the pool. It was neither light nor heavy. Instinctively, Su Zimo sent the thing flying with a backhand slap. It was rough to the touch and felt like a rock. However, he did not pay much attention to it, and merely thought that the divine spring had surged and knocked some rock into him. Su Zimo calmed his mind and continued to accommodate the second supreme Dharma characteristic. Relidermic body. The 90 feet tall relidermic body had a dignified appearance. It lowered its brows and eyes and placed its palms together, chanting Sanskrit in a sacred and benevolent manner. Su Zimo fused the heaven and earth Dharma characteristic into his body. At that moment, Su Zimo felt as though Qinglian's true body was about to explode. Poof! The flesh of Qinglian's true body exploded, and fresh blood gushed out. Her organs could not withstand the pressure, and cracks appeared one after another. Su Zimo opened his mouth and wanted to scream in pain. However, he could only make gurgling sounds after being fed a mouthful of divine spring water. In the depths of the pool, the boulder approached once more. Chapter 1377. The intense pain stimulated Su Zimo continuously. More and more blood surged into the pool. As for Su Zimo, the jade-green bones in his body were also producing new bloodlines continuously. Coupled with the primordial divine spring, his body was repaired continuously. The power of a supreme Dharma characteristic was way too strong. Even Qinglian's true body could not withstand it. Su Zimo's consciousness was hazy and blurry. He fainted several times only to be woken up by the intense pain. An unknown period of time passed. The pain on his body gradually subsided. After his wounds healed, they no longer ruptured and scabs began to form and fall off. Su Zimo heaved a sigh of relief. He had finally made it through. However, the entire process was way too painful. Even with his strong will, he fainted several times. If it was anyone else, they would have broken down long ago. Furthermore, this was only the fusion of two supreme Dharma characteristics. If he wanted to advance to the conjoint body realm completely, he would have to fuse a third supreme Dharma characteristic. However, Su Zimo knew very well that Qinglian's true body had already reached its limits after fusing two supreme Dharma characteristics. If he were to forcefully fuse a third supreme Dharmic art, there was a high chance that Qinglian's true body would explode and die. Su Zimo was fearless and did not hesitate at all. If he could not fuse with the help of the primordial divine spring today, he would never have any hope of advancing to the conjoint body realm in the future. Third supreme Dharma characteristic, heavenly fiend Dharma body. Su Zimo absorbed the supreme Dharma characteristic into his body. Boom! A loud bang sounded in Su Zimo's mind. The next moment, his consciousness seemed to have been stripped from his body, and he could clearly see that Qinglian's true body had exploded. Her flesh was peeled off, and her organs were shattered. Only jade-green bones were left supporting her. At that moment, cracks had already appeared on the bones. Qinglian's true body was destroyed. The injuries she suffered this time round were even more severe than when Di Fan attacked, and her entire body almost disappeared. Under this tremendous power, Qinglian's true body was quickly reduced to a skeleton. Her vitality was rapidly draining away. Even with the primordial divine spring, it was difficult to revive her. The black-haired primordial spirit was protected by the creation lotus platform and was surrounded by many rays of light. Only then did it manage to survive. Su Zimo stared blankly at this scene, his eyes a little dim. Did he fail? Ever since the true body of Qinglian started cultivating, it had encountered countless dangers. Eventually, it stopped at the Dharma characteristic realm and failed to form a conjoint body. Of course, Su Zimo was not sad. After all, he still had the true bodies of dragons and Wu Dao. Moreover, he hadn't truly died. At the very least, he had preserved his primordial spirit. In the future, he still had a chance to reconstruct his physical body. However, it was a pity to lose Qinglian's true body. Under his gaze, he saw that around his remains, within the surging blood mist, there was an enormous oval-shaped stone that was continuously flying about. The stone was as tall as a person and had a rough surface. It was filled with an ancient aura and had some mysterious patterns on it, giving off two completely different auras. It was both hard and soft, yin and yang. When the two extreme auras intersected on the gigantic stone, an extremely strange devouring power spread out and devoured the essence blood of Qinglian's true body that was released in large mouthfuls. This scene seemed somewhat familiar. However, Su Zimo could not recall it for a moment. To think that there would be such a treasure in the depths of the primordial divine spring. Su Zimo lamented internally. The creation lotus platform floated, and the black-haired primordial spirit sat on it, wanting to take a closer look. The moment he approached, the stone burst forth with an extremely immense life force. This Su Zimo was shocked. Such powerful vitality was something that had never been seen even in the dragon clan. Only the true bodies of dragons could compare to it. That's not a treasure. It's the egg of some sort of living being. Su Zimo reacted quickly. However, he was even more shocked. What sort of living being's egg could release such a strong life force that even he was shocked? Most importantly, if no one discovered the secret beneath Dark North Town, it meant that the gigantic egg had been passed down since the ancient era. Suddenly, Su Zimo recalled the scene in Shiman Manor. That was the gigantic demon beast that appeared when Kitsune summoned her bloodline phenomenon. A thought flashed across his mind as he came up with a theory. Kuan race's egg? No, that was unlikely. Although the Kuan race was one of the primordial 9 races, their lifespans were similar to dragons. The life force of an egg could not have reached that level. Furthermore, the devouring power of the 2 extreme powers on the gigantic egg was way too strong. If it was not a Kuan race's egg, there was only a single possibility. It was a Kuan Peng egg. One of the 3 primordial taboos, the Kuan Peng. Legend has it that the Kuan Peng could transform into a fish that spanned thousands of kilometers, resembling a boundless continent that floated on the sea. It could also transform into a bird that could fly for tens of thousands of kilometers with a flap of its wings. It possessed the power of the extreme yin and extreme yang and devoured the seas, soaring into the skies. If Su Zimo was not wrong, the 2 extreme powers that emanated from the gigantic egg should be the power of the extreme yin and extreme yang. Most likely, only a Kuan Peng egg could release such a strong life force. Prior to this, Su Zimo had some doubts. Although the primordial divine spring beneath Dark North Town was extremely precious, what did it have to do with Kitsune's bloodline phenomenon? Now he finally understood. The secret that the Dark North family was guarding was not the primordial divine spring, but the Kuan Peng egg. Right now, the Kuan Peng egg was devouring his blood. The reason why he found this scene familiar was because the night spirit had experienced the same situation when it was hatched. Although the primordial divine spring had exuberant life force, it could only ensure that the Kuan Peng egg maintained its life. A large amount of food and flesh was required to hatch the Kuan Peng. That was the reason why the Kuan Peng egg would take the initiative to devour Su Zimo's bloodline. However, the Kuan Peng was different from the Qi. If the Kuan Peng's true form was fully released, it would be way too massive. This also meant that its devouring power was extremely strong. Chapter 1378. The initially dead and cracked corpse of the Qinglian suddenly emanated a trace of vitality under the cleansing of the primordial divine spring. Immediately after, the trace of vitality gradually grew stronger and exuberant, enveloping the entire Qinglian corpse. The initially shattered bones gradually healed. Multicolored light shone on the jade green bones, and his bone marrow was already flowing. The Qinglian's true body was brimming with vitality once more. Sensing something, Su Zimo's creation lotus platform moved and returned to his glabella, guarding the spirit platform. Instantly, he formed a mysterious connection with the Qinglian's true body. In the hall, a commotion came from the divine spring. Kitsune could not help but turn back. A Qinglian was growing above the pool. At the top of the lotus stem, a flower bud bloomed slowly, and layers of lotus petals bloomed. The innermost lotus petals were smaller, while the outermost ones were the largest. Every circle consisted of 9 lotus petals. There were a total of 7 circles. The 63 lotus petals were tainted with golden dew from the divine spring, and were brimming with vitality. The lotus platform was jade green and translucent, spewing out 63 green rays of light that danced in midair, before returning to the lotus cave slowly. "How beautiful!" Kitsune exclaimed. Even if she saw that, she did not know what was going on. Given her knowledge, she did not know what the Qinglian was. However, if the conjoint body mighty figures of the 3 aristocratic families saw it, they would definitely be shocked. That was because that was a creation Qinglian. Furthermore, it was a grade 7 creation Qinglian. The creation Qinglian was shattered by Di Fan, but was reborn in another manner. Su Zimo's bones were the lotus stem, and his skin was the lotus leaves. He was connected to the creation lotus platform in his consciousness, as though they were one and could not be separated. Su Zimo was a creation Qinglian in human form. under the nourishment of the primordial divine spring, and after fusing with 3 supreme dermic bodies, the creation Qinglian, that was initially at grade 6 finally grew and advanced to grade 7. That was also the reason why the Qinglian's true body was able to revive and successfully advance to the conjoint body realm. Not many people in the current cultivation world knew how terrifying a grade 7 creation Qinglian was. Only Su Zimo knew that the weakness of the Qinglian's true body had vanished completely. The bloodline flowing in Su Zimo's body was equivalent to the bloodline of the grade 7 creation Qinglian. Su Zimo laid quietly at the bottom of the divine spring. Flesh and blood grew on his jade-green bones and gradually filled up. His organs were also gradually formed. This body was transforming into the true Qinglian body. Above the pool, under Kitsun's gaze, gigantic jade-green lotus leaves floated up from the water, covering the surface of the water. A Qinglian was swaying and blooming amidst the lotus leaves. Outside Baiming town, figures descended one after another and stood in midair. Every single figure seemed to be able to fuse with the entire world and emitted a tremendous might. There were more than 30 conjoint body mighty figures from the Dongfang and Shimen aristocratic families that arrived. It had been a long time since the 3 aristocratic families had made such a huge move when they ruled over the south region. Even the 2 patriarchs of the Dongfang and Shimen families had appeared. Indeed, no one from the Nangong family came. The patriarch of the Dongfang family sneered. The patriarch of the Shimen family said indifferently with a calm expression, "Since they're not coming now, there's naturally no need for us to share the primordial divine spring with the Nangong family after we obtain it." That's right. The patriarch of the Dongfang family nodded. The many conjoint body mighty figures were in no hurry to attack. Instead, they looked down at the gigantic cave beneath Baiming town. The patriarch of the Shimen family closed his eyes for a moment before suddenly opening them. "Although I can't see the depths, the aura below is indeed filled with rich life force. Patriarch, let's do it." A mighty figure was eager and could not help but say, "I'm willing to be the first to enter and suppress Araki Takashi. What's the hurry?" The patriarch of the Shimen family smiled gently. "The primordial divine spring and Tao Lord Araki Takashi are right beneath Baiming town. There's no way they can escape. Let's join forces and seal the space here first to prevent Tao Lord Araki Takashi from using any teleportation talismans to teleport away." That's right. Since we've chosen to attack today, we have to eliminate the root of the problem to prevent future trouble. The patriarch of the Dongfang family was murderous as well. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. The conjoint body mighty figures scattered all over Baiming town. They conjured hand seals and released streams of dermic powers into the void, setting up layers of restrictions. Before long, the space here was sealed by more than 30 conjoint body mighty figures. "Let's go, I'll wait." "Please." The 2 patriarchs had confident expressions and gave way to each other humbly. Thereafter, they walked down the stone steps side by side. The remaining conjoint body mighty figures followed closely. The underground route was not complicated. Before long, many conjoint body mighty figures saw a hall up ahead. At the same time, Kitsune, who was guarding the entrance of the hall, caught sight of the patriarch of the Dongfang family, the patriarch of the Shimen family, and more than 30 conjoint body mighty figures. Kitsune's heart skipped a beat. Although she did not recognize anyone, and could not tell the cultivation realms of those cultivators with her eyesight, she could sense a strong sense of danger from them. Without hesitation, Kitsune retreated and arrived behind a stone puppet in a flash. At the same time, the patriarch of the Shimen family smiled gently and blinked. Suddenly, a golden light flashed through his eyes. Clang! The golden light shot out from his eyes and arrived in an instant. It slashed the body of the stone statue and left a deep mark. Visual technique. If not for the fact that Kitsune had reacted swiftly and hid in advance, that visual technique alone would have been enough to kill her. A conjoint body mighty figure did not even have to lift a finger to kill a perfected Jin Dan. He's not dead. The patriarch of the Shimen family frowned slightly, and his expression darkened. As a conjoint body mighty figure, it was truly embarrassing for him to fail against a perfected Jin Dan. "Lass, you've reacted quite quickly. the patriarch of the Shiman family said indifferently with a sinister tone filled with killing intent. In that short period of time, they did not stop in their tracks, and were already less than a dozen feet away from the hall. Guard the entrance and don't let anyone in. Anyone who trespasses the hall without my orders will be killed without mercy. Kitsune ordered swiftly without wasting any time with the patriarch of the Shiman family and the others. Buzz! 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 The originally silent stone statue puppet suddenly opened its eyes, which emitted beams of divine light. It had completely awakened. Rumble! Boom! The stone puppets moved in unison and wielded gigantic weapons, standing at the entrance of the hall like gigantic heavenly gods. Patriarch, look! Right then, a conjoint body mighty figure pointed in the direction of the hall with widened eyes and a shocked expression, exclaiming. The mighty figures of the two aristocratic families looked over and pierced through the stone puppets, landing on the pool in the depths of the hall. A green lotus was blooming above the pool, swaying gently. The stem of the lotus was sparkling and translucent like jade. Huge lotus leaves spread out on the golden water surface, rippling with the waves. That is, the cultivators were shocked. Creation Qinglian. Heavens, it's that supreme treasure of the universe. Let me count. It's the grade 7 Creation Qinglian. A conjoint body mighty figure's voice trembled. To think that the Kitami clan would be guarding such a shocking secret. They sure hid it well. Every cultivator's eyes revealed a hint of greed. Who wouldn't be tempted by such a supreme treasure of the universe? Chapter 1379. The moment they saw the grade 7 Creation Qinglian, the atmosphere between the Dongfang and Shiman aristocratic families changed subtly. The primordial divine spring could be split equally between the two aristocratic families. However, there was only one grade 7 Creation Qinglian. Fufu, the patriarch of the Dongfang family, chuckled. Brother Shiman, let's stick to our initial plan and charge in to suppress Araki Takashi. As for who the grade 7 Creation Qinglian belongs to, let's postpone it for the time being and discuss it later. No problem. The patriarch of the Shiman family nodded as well. It would be the greatest joke if the two aristocratic families fought over this utmost treasure of heaven and earth before they suppressed Araki Takashi. The patriarch of the Dongfang family shifted his gaze to the dozens of stone statues at the entrance of the hall and sneered. Lass, you're truly way too naive if you think you can stop us with just a few puppets. Brother Dongfang, don't underestimate these puppets. They're interesting to be able to defend against my visual technique, the patriarch of the Shiman family said. They're just a bunch of lousy stones without essence spirits, and can't use dermic arts. What's there to fear? The patriarch of the Dongfang family waved his hand and ordered, attack! Two conjoint body mighty figures could not hold it in any longer, and appeared right away, charging towards the hall. Get lost! The mighty figure of the Dongfang aristocratic family wielded a gigantic spear. As the spear trembled, dermic powers surged and the voids distorted, forming a vortex that could devour and crush everything. In the hall, Kitsune's face was pale. Although she was standing in the hall, the aftershock of a conjoint body mighty figure's attack made her feel extremely uncomfortable. In fact, she could not even control her body and staggered towards the entrance of the hall. The power of the conjoint body realm was way too strong. Kitsune was only at the Jindan realm after all. All of a sudden, the grade 7 Creation Qinglian behind her swayed gently and emitted rays of light that enveloped Kitsune, dispelling the power of the conjoint body mighty figure. Kitsune quickly retreated, distancing herself from the entrance of the hall. She commanded the 18 stone statue puppets to defend the hall to the death. It really is a supreme treasure of heaven and earth. It can even automatically protect its owner. It has such a mysterious power. When they saw that, the gazes of the conjoint body mighty figures of the two aristocratic families turned increasingly fervent. A stone statue puppet wielding a long spear also made its move at the same time, thrusting out forcefully. There were no ripples of spiritual energy, nor were there any mysterious moves. However, the moment he made his move, he unleashed a terrifying amount of power. Boom! The two spears collided and exploded with a loud bang. The stone statue puppet did not retreat a single step, and had actually blocked the attack of the mighty figure of the Dongfang family completely. A conjoint body mighty figure of the Shiman family had already arrived. He swiped his storage bag, and a flying sword with a cold glint appeared. Turning into a streak of light, it arrived in front of a stone statue instantly. Clang! The speed of this sword was extremely fast, instantly stabbing into the stone statue's chest. But it actually didn't pierce through. On the contrary, the stone statue puppet reacted, and swung the gigantic sword in its hands, sending the flying sword flying into the distance. When they saw that, apart from the two family masters, the other conjoint body mighty figures attacked as well. The battlefield was not considered wide, and the 18 stone statue puppets guarded the entrance of the hall. Although the attacks of the conjoint body mighty figures were ferocious, they could not break in immediately. The two family masters stood with their hands behind their backs in no hurry. These stone statue puppets were indeed extremely rare, and their combat strength was comparable to conjoint body mighty figures. Even in the current puppet sect, they were extremely rare. Furthermore, the stone statue puppets were invulnerable and possessed immense strength. Even if some mighty figure dermic weapons smashed against them, they would not be able to injure their foundations. Of course, the two family masters had already discovered the weakness of the stone statue puppets after watching for a short while. Firstly, the stone statue puppets had been buried for too long. Even the best stones that had been passed down from the ancient era could not help but be eroded by time, and were no longer as good as before. Even the lifespan of a Mahayana patriarch was only 100,000 years. Who knew how many hundreds of thousands of years had passed since the ancient times? The two family masters observed carefully. Although the mighty figure dermic weapons could not severely injure the stone statue puppets, they would definitely chip off some stone fragments if they struck them. The reason why the puppets were able to move like living beings was because of the existence of restrictions. If the restrictions on the puppets were destroyed, they would turn into a bunch of broken stones without any combat strength. Furthermore, the stone statue puppets could not use dermic arts. Furthermore, their movements were slow and their reactions were not as agile as cultivators. Before long, the stone statue puppets were riddled with injuries. Numerous cracks appeared on its gigantic body. Some of the ancient restrictions on the puppets had already been destroyed. The puppets' movements had become much slower, and their strength was much weaker than before. Brother Shiman, let's attack as well in case anything happens. The Dongfang family master said leisurely. All right. The Shiman family master nodded gently, and his figure flashed. His sleeves fluttered and his palms shone with a bedazzling brilliance. The weapon of the Shiman family master was a pair of meteoric metal gloves that were made from falling stars, and were indestructible. It was a true Khanate mighty figure dermic weapon. Bang! The Shiman family master arrived at a stone statue puppet, and raised his arm, smashing it on the head of the puppet. The stone statue flew back and slammed heavily onto the ground. Numerous cracks appeared on its head, filling it with dense cracks. The divine light in the eyes of the stone statue puppet dimmed gradually as well. Although the stone statue puppet could still struggle to stand up, it no longer had any combat strength. The Dongfang family master had already attacked, and crippled a stone statue puppet as well. The addition of the two family masters broke the stalemate instantly. A flaw appeared in the defense of the 18 stone statue puppets as well. The remaining conjoint body mighty figures hollered, and released a powerful attack. Before long, they tore open a gigantic gap and charged in. Kitsune's heart skipped a beat. In the blink of an eye, 5 of the 18 stone statue puppets were crippled, and the remaining 13 were riddled with injuries. Some of them could not even stand properly. Naturally, the entrance of the hall could not be defended, and the remaining stone statue puppets had already retreated into the hall. The two family masters led more than 30 conjoint body mighty figures in. Fufu. The Dongfang family master smiled gently and said loudly, Lass, I've said it before. It's a fool's dream if you want to rely on these lousy rocks to stop us. Where's Araki Takeshi? The Shiman family master asked coldly. Against the pressure of a group of conjoint body mighty figures, Kitsune was drenched in sweat and almost could not withstand the pressure, wanting to kneel on the ground. However, she was stubborn and remained silent against the questioning of a conjoint body mighty figure. "You're not going to speak?" The Shiman family master's expression turned cold as he said coldly, "If you don't speak, I have plenty of ways to make you speak." Just as the Shiman family master was about to attack, a conjoint body mighty figure beside him suddenly exclaimed, "Ah, the creation Qinglian is gone." The crowd of cultivators glanced over. Indeed, the creation Qinglian had already disappeared from the golden pool, as though it had never appeared. How could that be? The cultivators were bewildered. The two family masters frowned as well. All of a sudden, both of them thought of a possibility. Gulp, gulp. Right then, a few bubbles appeared on the golden water surface. Under the gazes of the cultivators, a figure gradually surfaced. You're tuning in to the Limei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.